And welcome back to ScavTalk, everyone. Today's episode, we're catching up on some little Tarkov news tidbits. Nothing too major this week, but we definitely want to get you caught up on all the news. Then we're going to jump into, is Labs worth playing? Me and GigaBeef have been playing Labs a little bit, and I think we got some interesting takes on that subject. And then we're going to catch up with some of the content creators in Tarkov space have been talking about a extraction shooter coming out that's a bit of a different genre. I'm pretty intrigued to talk about that. Then we're going to jump into Tarkov Science, Cap of Progress, and then what to do past max traders. Giga, how is the Tarkov grind?
It's good. It's good. I mean, yeah, I made it to 42, which is fantastic. So now I could do whatever, and we'll talk about a bit of that at the end. So I've been doing, this, that, and the other, but it's cool. Now we can play the game, as they say. That's the
Yeah.
That's how it goes. We can play the game now, how we want, which is fun. I guess a bit of a lighter news week. Nothing too crazy outside of a couple of little bits and pieces. The first one being, it seems like Arena might get a wipe. I mean, I still have not really been touching Arena, based on, I think, just what people have been talking about on Twitter and in general. The fact that Arena, I think it really is the biggest problem for Arena was the fact that Tarkov wiped so soon. I don't think it really got enough time to and I guess the state that it was released in terms of matchmaking and stuff, didn't really get enough time to brew before Tarkov Wipe came out, and then everybody was playing that. So I think if you look at the Twitch stats, I think it's quite rough as to how many people streaming / watching Arena. I mean, that's assuming that people are actually swapping over their title. The number of times that I've played Arena with normal Escape from Tarkov listed as my category, it's just, I don't know, because you can swap back and forth between the two games, and I always forget to change. Because I never normally change games on Twitch, I always forget to change the game category, and people then come in oh, you're in the wrong game. That normally happens if I play something completely random, because it doesn't happen too often. But anyway, it looks like there's going to be an Arena wipe soon because all of the presets are now unlocked. So you could play any of them, and everybody's been given, how much is it exactly? Because they've already done 2 sets of this. It's 10 mil? Yeah. 10 million. So they already did, I think they already gave everybody 5 mil on the 20th. And then they added, they gave everything up to 600 MP rating, and then now every class preset is available. So yeah, that seems to be it. I don't know whether that will entice people in. Maybe if you had zero money and you stopped because you ran out of money, you couldn't play kits, and maybe, but I don't think most people were in that position. So being able to play the high tier kits without grinding for them and having money that it doesn't really matter whether you win or lose or whatever, I don't think it'll really make too much difference for the time being.
Yeah. I was just looking up this poll here because I saw a poll from Crayon Dicky. I think I'm saying his name right. He does some Instagram / Twitter little graphics for Tarkov. Check him out. He's got some really cool stuff. But he did a poll not too long ago. If you stop playing Tarkov, why, or stop playing Tarkov Arena, why? Balance issues, technical problems, etc. Boring, no time for main game plus Arena. So the options were: I play Arena regularly, occasionally, stop playing it, never tried. And 51.7% said stop playing. 27.8% said they never tried. 16% says occasionally. 4.6% says I play Arena regularly. This was back on the 18th of February, and I was kind of surprised that a quarter of never tried it. I thought that number would have been much smaller. But
there might just be standard account people though that haven't bought it.
This is true. I mean, this is, I guess, to be fair, this is only 1,700 votes, so it's a significantly small sample size of what likely is the larger Tarkov, community. This is kind of just their community, but
even still, though, even still,
kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I personally think that the looting aspect and the survival aspect are kind of they go hand in hand with the Tarkov experience. What would, some people say, I've heard people say this before, it's I hate the quest, man, the quest sucked, and then it's yeah, but without the quest, it wouldn't wouldn't have that same feeling. It's like that's true, but the quests are really bad. It's like that's also true.
Yeah, exactly. The quests give you meaning to want to go and grind.
Right.
It's a bit like what people say about Arena, right? Like in Arena, if you unlock everything, then you don't really feel like you want to play anymore.
True.
Even though it doesn't matter. Like, as long as you're working towards a goal, no matter how meaningless, then you still feel as if you're kind of compelled to like go and do the thing. Like going into Tarkov like without any quest is like weird. It's a weird experience. Partly because we're sort of trained into doing it. That always is like the most meta way to win in the game. You get the max traders and all that stuff. But even still, just going in without a particular plan, it does feel odd. And so it sort of focuses the mind like you've got to go and do the thing. And yeah, Tarkov is a game that is it's the quests are there. They kind of promote the action, you know. It's like you have to go here and you have to go there, and they push people around and they stop it just becoming. I mean, I know it's a rat simulator a lot of the time, but like that, it prevents people from doing that more. I would imagine, rather than just like chilling, sitting, whatever. Like you do have to go to this place and do this thing, and then you get a reward for it. Like no matter how meaningless, maybe that's even just XP. Because you know people want more XP. So because you get your XP from the raid anyway, and then you also get your quest XP. So it's like okay, well I'm still working up the levels and yada yada. So you know the quest give meaning, but yeah, the quest could be improved for sure, and people would then enjoy the game more probably rather than doing the quest because they're the only things that they really are to do. They give you some kind of structure. I don't know. It's a weird situation, but yeah. Anyway, I was looking just now. I just pulled up Twitch tracker. So like Tarkov itself, you look at I'm just looking at like the daily chart. So this wipe, it has been pretty healthy actually. Like
this is Tarkov or Tarkov
to,
Arena?
Yeah. Well, I was looking at Tarkov itself. I mean, right now the peak, the sort of 7-day peak is, I guess, obviously it's higher at the weekend, but let's say in the week, for example, it's probably like 35 to 40,000 channels, something like that, and then like 45,000 channels at the weekend, something along those lines, with viewership up to 50k, 30k. Right at the minute, like in the low periods, it's like 15k, but yeah, the peak periods is like 40,000 or whatever, which is pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Tarkov Arena. I mean, the problem with looking at it like this on the Twitch tracker is that you know if one person like one big streamer swaps to Arena, right, the numbers like skew very heavily. So
yeah, that's true.
It's a bit like viewers follow the streamers. So it's like very like dependent upon just who decides to want to play. But that said, in the peak period, Tarkov Arena only has like 70 channels streaming, and for those 70 channels, there's under 1,000 viewers average for all of those channels together, which is pretty rough. Like yesterday, the peak period was like 68 channels streaming Arena with like 400 viewers total. If you click it onto the 7-day chart on the left,
oh, I see. Oh, there you go. Yeah,
you can see like how low it is. And this is just this is Arena end of wipe, but without any of the fixes that we talked about for the roadmap last time. So I don't know, like maybe a wipe will be good and interesting, and like the changes to the matchmaking should help, because like right now, like there's not really much reason to play. You end up in D forever, D plus forever, or you're like somebody who ground up to C, and now you can only play with like a 5-stack. So the matchmaking's like fundamentally screwed up this first Arena wipe, I guess, this first season for Arena. So maybe next time it'll be a bit more interesting, because then you have to pick. This is what they were saying last time, right? You have to pick your tier first, and then you pick a kit within that tier. So you matchmake within a tier, and then you pick a kit with that tier. So it's a bit more sort of fair. So, but yeah, the drop off's quite brutal, and we'll see. But I mean, also BSG haven't released any dates for any tournaments or anything, so no one's focusing on it right now. I think people are more focused on like the community tournaments. So I think there was there a hunt tourney that was coming up soon? I think there was. Let me see if I can find it. I'll have a look in the background. To see if I can find it.
I mean, just a bit of a speculative question for you. Like, let's say perfect scenario, 4 months down the road, in the year, whatever, the game wipes, main game and the arena, and there's a tournament, thing going on, whatever. It's like both. You got both equal footing to play either main game or arena, or both at the same time. Like, what do you do in that case? Like, I don't know. I would feel, me personally, I would feel way more incentivized to play. I mean, I haven't played Arena at all, so like obviously I'm gonna keep playing the main game. Like
Yeah.
I thought about playing Arena a little like recently, just as like a brief thought to just like get better at aiming and shooting, but um yeah, I just don't know. I just find it so hard. Like at the if they're both gonna wipe at the same exact time, I just feel like more on average, more people are gonna want to play the main game, unless, of course, by this hypothetical scenario I'm pitching, that Arena you can like somehow make money or like transfer loot to the main game or vice versa or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? There's got to be like
Yeah.
something to like incentivize me to play Arena that's gonna help me in the main game for me to want to play Arena.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, because like also I find that at the moment the way that it's set up, yeah, it's helpful sort of to play the main game like a bit, but you have to use like really weird kits, and you don't get to use the kit that you do in the main game.
This
and
is
as we know,
true.
in the main game, right, it's so important to keep like your headset, the sights that you normally use, all of this kind of stuff to keep it like as similar-ish as you can. And players typically gravitate towards like similar kits. Whereas if you're having to use, iron sights on this random thing with 45 rounder with like terrible mods and stuff, like it's weird. To be fair though, I haven't actually played Arena with the new recoil system, so that might help. I'd be quite interested to do that. Honestly, I would be quite interested to do that for when the wipe comes through and be like, okay, let's play some Arena with the new recoil, see how it feels, test it out, all that kind of stuff with the new matchmaking. I think that might be more interesting. But we'll see. We will see. Yeah, so I just sent you a link over to the Hunt Premier tourney. That is the 2nd and the 3rd of March. They've got some like quite big people actually, and this one's been sponsored by Init Audio, who I've seen sponsoring a few different people up and down the Tarkov community in general, like people doing like sponsored streams and stuff for these guys. And there's like nearly 6K prize pool, which is cool, but they've got some like really stacked teams here. Some big names playing in this thing, so going to be this is obviously like this is the thing is like it's almost a shame that this is like the thing that people are focusing on for Arena. I wish PSG would like announce the next one. I think they said that originally they said they were going to announce the next set of tourneys before the end of January or whatever, but they haven't said anything. And I think without something to focus people's minds, people have just kind of forgotten about Arena. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, especially with the main game being the center fold of attention
and being so good with the amazing wipe. Everybody like, and again, it's not even necessarily Arena's fault per se. Like, obviously, there's things to fix.
It's
but
Tarkov's fault. Tarkov's just too good, right?
Yeah, kind of. Tarkov is like in a super state. It's almost like the perfect, like, terrible storm for Arena. Like the wipe came really soon after it launched.
Yeah,
most people played it with the old recoil. The wipe was insane, so everyone wanted to play it. There haven't been any tournaments announced. There's not really been that much marketing for Arena, really. It's like, oh yeah, you can have 5 million rubles. It's like, okay, well, that wasn't really the problem. That wasn't why people weren't playing. So we're going to have to see whether people get more into it as the scene develops. Because like they really need to, I don't know. I wish that they'd just done like more smaller tourneys or something to kind of just get more people involved. Because if there's going to be these huge like months and months and months of delays between each one, like people are just not going to be interested and forget, right? Like they need to foster a proper competitive scene to make it more compelling to play at the top level, not just like, oh, you're top tier on the rank because you ground at a 5 stack and you keep getting matched against D pluses as a a B rank or an A rank or whatever, and you just got 25 MMR every time. Like it's a silly situation. So we'll see, but I don't know. I think the pace needs to be improved a little bit, just in terms of reminding people it exists. They want it to be more successful. Doesn't even need to be development, just something, in-game stuff, events, whatever, like tourneys, anything, something. You can't just like sit there and just leave it because it's just going to die, I think, otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the next thing for news, very oddly, I find this very, very strange. The Tarkov boys have released, BSG, released the official ammo sheet for patch 14. Now, this is not the first time they've done this, but it says the up-to-date spreadsheet of ammo and their characteristics in Escape from Tarkov, and there's a Google Doc. And there were some people praising it. Yeah, that's fine. And they've done this before. But I think it's obviously a bit late, right? The wiki updates and no foods thing updates in like 48 hours at most.
Yeah.
And you get all the information like straight away. So this document is not really necessary. And as 95,000 people have said, and I agree with, put it in the game. You're going to release the thing, put it in the game. It's in Arena. They've already done it. They've already put all the stuff in the game in Arena. So put it in the game. Put these things in the game. And yeah, you get to see lots of random stuff like, durability burn and stuff that you don't get to see on the first wiki table. But if you drill down into any of the calibers, you can see the table of all the ammos within that particular caliber, and it shows you the burn rate and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I just find it a bit of an odd thing that they release it now in February, like 2 months after the wipes happened. When anybody who wanted this information already has it. It's a bit strange.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much notes. It would be, I think it's just like, it's long overdue that they just put it in the game. I mean, that surely the legwork is a lot less now that they've already done some, already put in an arena. Can't imagine it's that much more complicated than starting from scratch, but I could be completely wrong, of course. I am no expert.
I mean, it's got to be slow. I mean, it either helps, it either doesn't help at all, so it's a 0, or it's a small positive. At worst, having it in Arena already and having done it there. Like, maybe you can use some of it. I don't know. Like, worst case, you can use nothing of it, but they've already done it themselves once, so they'll know how to do it more easily. They've got the experience for it, I guess. Like, I just don't think there's any excuse at this point not to put it in the game. So yeah, that's that. I guess there was one small piece of drama which was people were complaining about. So there's this ongoing issue where sometimes you get a back end error when you do certain things. Most of the time, it doesn't matter. But there was somebody who, this happened after our last cast. There was somebody who basically went through the full game, went and got Kappa, and then got back end error collecting the. Was it like handing? Yeah, it was turning in collector.
Oh no!
Got back end error whilst turning in collector, and so basically the Kappa container never got delivered, but the collector quest is completed without rewards. And this has happened to various people for various things. In some places it's more game breaking than others. I've read a few responses, and there's some people who one of the worst possible cases it can happen in is when it happens really early wipe and you get blocked from ever opening up Jaeger. I think that is technically possible. No. You basically have to just reset your account. Somebody got banned from buying the AXMC because they didn't get the unlock rewards for completing whichever quest it is now. I don't even know anymore. So yeah, there are some better or worse things that it could happen to, but yeah, for actual collector and not get your Kappa container is really, really rough. But the reason why the drama happened was basically because they sent a thing to BSG support being like, "Can I have my Kappa, please? You can see this is bugged," and they said no. So, I mean, they basically just said we don't return items for in-game bugs. It's a beta. And
yeah, I guess. And it's kind of
I mean. Apparently they're looking into it, but I don't know whether the situation was actually resolved or not. I don't know, but obviously with the community outcry, not for normal stuff, that's fine. Obviously that's fine. But for really, really important things, the line has to be drawn somewhere. But the Kappa container is clearly somebody's gonna have to manually look at this. There's no excuse for that. So hopefully they did fix it. I didn't actually see if there was any follow up, so I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one, that bug.
Dude, if it's yeah. Oh man, if that happens to me, I will actually uninstall Tarkov permanently. I mean, they'll do me a favor.
It's quite rare, but yeah.
They'll be doing me a favor.
No, exactly. Finally escaped from Tarkov, for real.
Thanks, VSG. You did me a solid there.
So yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the news. I think that's everything up to date.
I think so. Oh, one other thing. I saw a Reddit post, or because I was checking Reddit for I was having server issues or something. I can't remember, or maybe I got it in the email. Sometimes Reddit sends me emails of threads. Anyways, there was this report of an FPS issue with a particular setting, and I was like, dude, there's just no way. And I looked into the thread, and it turns out, apparently, allegedly, I'll see if I can find the thread. If you have auto vaulting turned on, you lose about like 20 to 30% frames. Like the video footage, I'll see if I can find the thread. Actually, Giga, why do I multi? Because I'm bad at multitasking. Why don't you take this one? Because you actually did a video on this.
I did. Yeah, so I didn't go completely crazy about the testing. I did do it in offline mode, which I know some people in the comments were like, "Really, the testing's in offline mode, worth this video? Oh, it's all junk." I'm just like, "Oh, come on, man." But I did intend to do it on stream, and then I forgot basically. So whatever. I was like, I'm not loading into a raid just to test this for like 2 seconds. Oh, I probably should have just done it on woods or whatever, naked or something. But anyway, yeah, I went to test it myself, and yeah, it seems like if you have auto vault on, and one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up was because I hadn't seen this anywhere other than Reddit. I only stumbled into it because because I go on Reddit like occasionally, and I went on it, and the top post was this one being like, yeah, if you turn auto vault on, like you lose like 20 frames or something, and I was like, holy crap, no way. And so I wanted to make a video about it anyway because like I don't know exactly how much overlap there is between the YouTube community and the Reddit community, but I wanted my people to know, and I know that a lot of people don't frequent Reddit because it's a toxic cesspool. So yeah, I made it into a video, and I was like, I actually had meant to be doing like a myth busting video anyway. Like I had it in the sort of in the back burner. I was like slowly collecting stuff that I thought was interesting, and this one I was like, because I'm always like with that YouTube thing, we're always as creators, we're like, how do I make this like enticing to click on? And then when this came through, I was just like, oh, this is perfect. This is like some random setting that like drops your FPS by like 20. This is insane. So like most people have the hotkey on. They have it on hotkey, I should say. Most people have Volti on the hotkey because it's just easier. You get to control it more. You don't accidentally yeet yourself out of a window. All of that kind of stuff. And so yeah, most people have it on a specific hotkey, but some people do have it on auto because some people do prefer it, and they just kind of work around it, I guess. If you're like near tall ledges and that kind of thing. So in those situations, those people probably should turn it off. So if you're an auto vaulting user, consider turning it off and putting it on hotkey, especially if you play streets, because you lose a lot of frames. Like I went from 68 to 48, I think, and I was getting 30 FPS scoped with vaulting on. Now I don't know exactly I don't know exactly how they've managed to code this, but it's checking a lot whether you can vault or cannot vault, and it doesn't seem to matter. Like I was prone for half the testing, and it didn't. It's still just like checking auto vault. Like I don't know, way too often. But the logic needs to improve for it. Clearly, I mean, I think they should probably just get rid of it. Honestly, that's probably the easiest way. Just remove it and make people use hotkey, I suppose.
Yeah.
But, or fix it, I guess. But like, it's probably easy just to remove it. But for the time being, it probably should just be like removed,
Probably.
or like grayed out or something, because it's like it is kind of bugged. I guess like on the rest of the maps, you might not notice. It's basically only streets because like 20 frames. It depends on what kind of rig you've got, but 20 frames on customs for a lot of people, like they won't necessarily notice. If you're like 90 frames and 70 frames, like some people, like you probably wouldn't be able to tell. It depends, and it depends on your monitor too. But yeah, and most people use hotkeys, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, yeah, it's true. It's true. Auto vaulting is supremely bugged and tanks your frames a lot.
Someone said yesterday, I was talking about in chat, someone in chat said, that is the most Tarkov thing I've ever heard of. I was like, yeah, that's no notes. Perfectly sums it up. So yeah, watch out for that. It's a shame because like there's times where I feel like auto vaulting would be nice, but playing with it when it first came out, there was also times where this is annoying. I don't want you to auto vault in this very particular instance, Because sometimes like manually vaulting over like little ledges is like really finicky. Whereas like when it's set to auto, you just like spam your arrow keys or your WASD and it does the job. So yeah,
you hit like a trigger point for the vault or whatever super easily. Like so when I was testing it, I was also doing some other stuff. I've been doing like flashlight testing and that kind of things, which we'll talk about in a bit. But I was in dorms there and I accidentally left it on from the testing, and I didn't notice because I have lots of frames on customs normally, so it doesn't matter, especially inside dorms. And yeah, like I was vaulting over that, like that really really awkward like bed with the chairs and stuff on the second floor. Like it's just really annoying. that was like really easy with auto vault. And I was like, oh, this is really weird, because I was pressing the hotkey and I was like, oh, this felt like way more smooth than normal. And then I was like, hang on a second. And I had auto already selected. And I was like, oh, okay. Like that actually probably is better with auto, that little section there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not worth the 20 frames.
Definitely not worth it.
Someone in chat's reminded me and said, yeah, it reminds me of a bug a couple of wipes ago that caused your game to freeze every time you shot someone if you had a ton of active quests. It sounds exactly like that.
Yeah,
Do you remember?
that's another
when you had like change the quest? And it's just like, was it a headshot? Did you shoot this person in the left leg with a bolt action? Was it a, like...
Yeah, that was crazy too, because that wipe, it was like, people thought shotguns were bugged. Because like you would spam someone and then like eventually they would just like fall over. Like it was like you were lagging them or something. Like it was the weirdest thing, but it was actually just the quest checking. It was just like the weirdest experience.
And with shotguns, it was terrible with buckshot because it happened like 8 times. Right, because each pellet was like causing the bug, so it was like everyone was like, it's like checking everyone's quests, like so mad,
a classic,
so mad. But they fixed that, so I'm sure they can fix this. It's probably just someone who did it really lazily in the first place, and then they're just like, I'll just throw that together, I'll fix it later, forgot or whatever, got released with it, and it's just like, when you put auto vault on, it's actually mining Bitcoin on your PC.
Who knows?
Who knows? All right, so the labs. Let's talk labs. You've been playing labs. I've been playing labs. Have you found it?
Pretty good actually. I had to kill raiders for one of my Kappa quests. It was just like 6, but there's been a long desire to like properly play and learn labs. It's always been something that I wanted to do. And initially when I started playing Tarkov, me and my friend group, we got into the labs phase. And we did that for a bit. We had some pretty good raids, it was fun. We were having a good time. And then like back to back, like, twice or thrice, I can't remember, we ran into like blatant like speed hacking, aimbot, wallbot, pre-fire, highly likely they were cheating, right? And we just kind of like killed any motivation we had to play labs anymore. We were both kind of just like, well, let's not go labs anymore. So from pretty much then on, I've like basically just had an eternal struggle of like wanting to go back and grind labs, because it's like one of those things in Tarkov. It's like the last bastion of things to do, in the game. You know what I mean? It's like you played the wipe so many times, you've done this achievement, you've done that thing. It's like I've mastered all these maps. It's like this is the last thing to conquer, right? So it's like kind of been one of those things, but I'm like, generally speaking, I'm pretty like loss adverse person. Like I don't like losing. Makes it hard because I'm playing Tarkov, right? So labs, it puts me off because it's also like, but I also want to have fun. It's like I could see a world where labs is fun, but then it's like I have to like suffer through the notoriety that comes with labs, which is the hacking issue. So I was like, all right, I've been, I want to do this. Let me do this. But before I do this, let me watch some videos and like try to really educate myself, because I have like bits and pieces of like the map in my head, but not every little detail or even where loot's at, which is like kind of a big thing. If I'm going to go to labs, I might as well like get loot. And especially nowadays where they got these like GPS amplifier, current converter, these hideout items that you have to find on labs, or only spawn on labs. You need one for solar power. You need the GPS amplifier for, or whatever it's called, for the Intel Center 3. So there's like an extra incentive to go there. And so I watched, I think it was Johnny, I hope I'm saying their name right. You'll be able to correct me, Giga, hopefully. Johnny Busock, is that their name?
Think so, yeah.
I think they're a Sherpa, and he had like 2 different labs videos. One was like just like a general-esque labs guide, and one was like a PvP guide. And man, was it helpful, because like he like just did a good job explaining it. And like one of the concepts that really stuck with me was like, when you spawn in, I mean, this is just like classic Tarkov, but it's like really true on labs, especially because the map is like, I think it's kind of big. Like it's bigger than a factory for sure, but not, maybe like the something similar to the size of like just the interchange mall, right?
I wonder if it's even that size though.
Yeah, I mean it's probably even smaller than that because the
I think it's
interchange.
quite a lot smaller.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean maybe if you cut out like the Ollie, Goshen, and Idea, and just have like the center of the mall, and
Maybe, yeah. It's like the middle section of the mall.
something kind of like that.
I think like the weird thing about labs, I think functionally it is smaller, but compared to interchange, I don't think is actually unfair because the sight lines in interchange are just typically longer. So like the
Yeah.
features on the map, it broadly feels like the same kind of vibe. Yeah, like if you didn't have idea and you didn't have Ollie and you just had the main center of the mall, like that would kind of be like labs sort of like blown up by probably like 1.5 or 2 times, probably 2 times or something. But like it's not like there were like labs is more dense with stuff, so it's
Yes.
interchange is more like just long corridors and there's like some shops here and there, or whatever. But labs is like really like twisty, lots of doors, like it's complicated. So like the sort of almost like the information density of the map is probably the same as the inside of the mall of interchange. That's kind of how I'd think about it.
A bit, yeah. It's definitely way more dense because like that's I mean that's one of the reasons I like interchange is because once you're inside the mall, like there's just a lot of different routes and I don't know. I like the flanking, which a lot of labs feels like playing interchange. It's just way more like dense, as you said. It's like one of the feelings that I can't quite get over. It's like when you're inside labs, like the main, first floor, second floor, the big open areas. It's like every time I'm in like the center of like the lab, the medical areas or like weapon testing, I just can't help but feel like I'm in the dead center of like interchange in between the two escalators, like in between Kiba and like just like in the middle of nowhere looting. Like I'm just gonna get shot from any direction. It feels exactly like that.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like I find labs has got a really strange vibe to it. Like it's one of those. I think it's almost one of those things in Tarkov that ends up becoming true again. It's almost like the woods beach.
Yeah,
because you're so exposed down in those areas, and it's so obvious. Often you're actually kind of safe down there. Like weirdly, like the number of times that I've been killed down there is actually not that high. It's like you run along like the beach on woods by the sawmill, and it's like the most exposed, like worst possible place to run ever. But no one really goes there because like you can't see anything from there. Like yeah, you get killed down there sometimes, but like often it's better to run through there than it is, go around the edge. And the thing about that labs is that I find that a lot of the people who like to PvP and play like regular PvP labs, they tend to stick around like the tight, twisty corridors and play it like factory. And people don't really like fighting in the big open areas. I think there's partly a reservation to do so, because the way that raiders will just like beam you. If raiders like catch sight of you, they'll just kill you. So people tend to avoid those areas. People fight around like the keycard rooms primarily because of like black keycard mostly probably, but it's also just like the areas that people spawn in, like server room over by red keycard, and parking, like a bit in hangar, not so much, but a bit in hangar. I find that those areas tend to like drive most of the PvP, and people like to be. Yeah, people don't like feeling like they're going to get shot from every single angle. And so people stick to the corridors and stick to these like one-on-one fights. And especially if you're like a Giga Chad, that's how you win these things, right? Because like you can kind of minimize the sightlines where you're going to get like randomly popped by some dude who you didn't even hear with a voodoo versus being able to like outskill people. And so I don't know. In my experience, like often it feels bad, but often like not right at the beginning of a raid, obviously, because people are moving around. But like after the first sort of like couple of minutes, it's like died down a little. Sometimes I've just like been wandering around down there, like over by the dome, and go to weapon testing, just unlock the door, chill, casual. Like people are doing other stuff; they're not necessarily down there. So I don't know. It's a weird one. Like yeah, sometimes you get caught, but in my experience, I actually feel like I'm starting to get more comfortable being down there rather than in some of the other places. Like
yeah,
it's getting weird.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And this is one of the things he was talking about in the video is like you could loot, like you could spawn and loot the closest thing to you, but what's good is that going to do you when someone is going to rush that hotspot also, and then you're going to have to fight while you're like a perfect example is like Red Room or slash, Violet. It's like you could spawn there, run in there, go in there and start looting. Then someone's going to come by, hear you or see that you're in there, and now you're trapped in there and they have the outside advantage, It's like they can start spamming nades. You showed like all these tactics. I was like, okay, it's much better to clear first and then start looting. Like you clear the map and then start looting. And especially the biggest part was like knowing the spawns. And I was like, oh my god, this is like the most Tarkov thing also, but this just like infinitely makes the map more playable. Because that was like one of the things I was fearing the most is like I spawn in, it's like, okay, I don't want to move because I don't know where anyone's at or what's going on. Like I just want to sit and like sound horror for a bit. But now that I know the spawn, it's like, okay, this guy spawned down there. So I spawned here, so I know there's a spawn down there. There's a spawn here. Black's here. I know there's probably gonna be a big fight here, converging here. This is a good spawn for me to go here and do this and that. Like it makes it so much more like playable. Like I can't even like.
Yeah.
That was like the hugest thing for me was actually like I need to actually go back and look at the wiki and like re-look at some of the spawns because I know like a fair amount, but not all of them, obviously. And yeah, it's just like wow, that just because what happens too inevitably, like the less because there's only like what 8 players max, or is it 10? Like
I can't remember now.
8 to
yes, it's not that many.
Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
It feels like 10.
8 to 10.
I feel like 8's too low,
8 to
but
10.
Yeah.
So the less play, like if you let's say you get into a fight, you kill a player, and you know you see some other bodies, maybe you kill 2 players, whatever. I mean, I don't know, whatever. Point being is like the less if you're not taking out the competition, then that gives, especially early on, that gives people more time to like move around the map in less predictable ways. Whereas like at the start, it's like I mean, almost every labs raid, there's like a giant fight over a black room, right? So like if I see 3 dead bodies there and I already killed a player, like I know there's only 3 other, like at most or at least there's 3 other players, right? And it makes it so much more. And some people just like maybe they're doing the guide, so they just got to get in, get out. Maybe they're found the item they need for their hideout, they just want to get out. Whatever. Maybe someone's ratting the extract down at medical block. But yeah, it makes it so much more playable, and that's just been like massively huge. But overall, like the map is really cool. Like I said, it reminds me of Interchange, which I really like. It's like an even better Interchange, like the mall experience. The way you can like just flank different routes, and it's just I don't know. It's like I can feel it, but it's also like the most sweat lord experience in Tarkov ever. Plus, you got the cheaters. Like I think I only ran into like 1 or 2 like in like my 10 raids I did that day. Maybe like 1 or 2 like fairly sus stuff. But again, it's like like one of them was like I peeked and I died and I didn't see anything. I looked at the footage, I didn't see anything. Slow mo, everything. It's like I don't know. Maybe he just had like some insane angle that I have no idea about. Maybe he was cheating. Who knows? But overall, I think it's like one of those things that like it's worth trying, but you have like it's almost essential to like study before you go. And even then, like the studying is only so good because you need some sort of like experience to relate to the studying you did, which like if you have prior experience it will help, but especially the videos that like they don't just show you a map and voiceover, they actually like show you footage and a map, like footage of them playing and a map. Like that helped a lot piecing together the puzzle pieces.
Yeah. I should probably at this point go and watch like the PvP videos because I pretty much know like again, it's like there's some of the finer details of like certain specific areas with little angles through stuff that like I don't know about because I just don't play that often. But like I know all of the routes around the map, if that makes sense. Like I have definitely have my favorite areas. I hate fighting around the keycard rooms because it's just like full of sweat lords, and it feels like I feel like I'm just playing like school on PUBG. It's just like just drop in the hotspot and like 10% of the time you win the fight there, and then you've got like all the loot ever. But like most of the time you just get killed because even if you kill 1, 2, and somebody came into my chat actually while I was playing labs and being like, I just wish it wasn't like this, especially as a solo player. They're like, labs is fine and the PvP is fine, and I can kill like 1 person, 2 people, but like I can't clear the lobby. Like I will always die before I finish clearing everybody, right? Like I can kill 1, I kill 2, and then there's someone else comes, and then I eventually die, right? It's like it's so hard to win like the battle royale that is labs. I find it's like really tricky. I was watching you play. I quite liked the way that you were doing it, to be honest. But I feel that there's like there's very 2 distinct ways of playing labs, and one which is like the way you were playing it, which I think is a smart way of doing it. which is the like I'm hunting raiders. Like the I'm hunting
Yeah.
raiders mode and I'm looting labs. That's a very specific type of playstyle. Like, yes, you want to hunt players, but you don't need to put yourself at risk necessarily.
Mhm.
Like, you want to move around to the different hotspots and fight people, but you can like take good angles, and because you're really kind of waiting the timer a bit because the raiders aren't there immediately. You have to like wait around for a little.
Mhm.
So that's the smart way. The way that I've been playing it is like the stupid way, but unfortunately it's kind of the way you have to play it if you want specifically to get the hideout items, which is what I've been trying to do, and it's what I was trying to do. I did like a random stream after our last week's podcast actually, because Very Bad Scav came in with like 2,000 people like 10 minutes before we finished. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll play some Tarkov. And I just played labs for an hour, and then played yesterday all day, and I think I played 10 raids. Or is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? No, I played 12 raids. Okay, I played 12 raids. I found the solar power one, the MCC. I found that literally in the very first raid. In you know the office next to parking, like next to the parking button room. I found it in there, and just like skedaddled out through the main elevator, which is quite good. Actually, that's another thing about labs is that there's a lot of extracts.
Yeah.
Which is very, very cool.
Yeah,
there's
that's
like
true.
extracts everywhere, right? It's like you can go out of parking, out of hangar, out of med, out of cargo, out of main, out of sewer. There's like a billion extracts.
Backpackless.
Yeah, they all like backpackless. Yeah, that's true. And like, yeah, you do announce that you're going there a lot of the time using the various buttons, but it's it is what it is. But the problem with the MCC and the GPSA is that you need them for the hideout. You can get a run through. There's the one positive advantage about them because you're using them as a hideout like build item. You don't need it to be found in raid, but that's actually negated and cancelled out by the fact that you can't put it in your secure container. So it's actually functionally meaningless that it doesn't need to be found in raid because there's no way to get it out of raid without it being. Actually, no, that's not true because the run through. So you can get a run through with the items, it not be found in raid, and use it in the hideout. That's the one plus side. But you can't put them in the secure container. So you can't just like pistol run to the room, grab the item and stick it in your bum and then die. That doesn't work because you're not allowed to put them in there. So you have to, and somebody did say in my chat, they did it like 20 times, just literally with like a pistol. And they just ran to the closest hotspot, looked for it and died. They said, I just died 20 times in a row, eventually finally found it and didn't meet anyone and like went out of sewer or whatever. So I found mine on the first raid. But the issue is that it's not just like generic loot. It's a very specific item and they sell for a ton of money. And so people always loot them and like everybody needs to go and get them too. So everyone goes and checks all the spots because there aren't that many because it's the valuable spawns and they're checking them for other things as well. So everybody kind of picks them up and like, yes, you could go out for PvP, but a lot of the time people need these items and then they leave as soon as they've got them. And the problem is that you basically need to like rush to the hotspots where the valuable loot spawns are to get a chance of getting them first. Otherwise, you just kind of miss it. And you only really get a chance to get, a quarter to maybe a third of the spawns for these items before other people have like hoovered them up and the fights happened and they're like on the other side of the map and you can't get there in time. Like some people are saying like, yeah, you can get them from PvP because of the fact that, you can't put them in your secure. But it's just that much harder to do it. Like how many people then like wander around with the items in their backpack? Like some people do, but it's just tricky. So I find that trying to play that like rush play style, it's like you just don't survive many raids. It's like I'm going to rush all the hotspots until I find the item, and I'm going to keep going through all the hotspots until either I run out of hotspots or I die. And usually, die is normally what happens first and foremost, which is quite unfortunate. So yeah, I found the MCC, but I didn't see the GPSA at all in the 12 raids that I played, or the 3 or 4 that I did on Friday either. So I'm like 15 raids. I found one MCC and no GPSA. I will say it's quite funny that you said like, oh, I only met like 1 or 2 cheaters in my 10 raids because I feel like that's quite a lot. I think because I never see cheaters normally. And the wipe that I did, I think it was last wipe, or maybe it was the wipe before. It must have been last wipe because that was the long wipe. Getting the MCC and the GPSA then. I played like a month of labs and it felt like mostly okay, actually. But like yesterday, it was the first time in a long time that I felt very suspicious. A lot of the time, I reported more people than I usually do by like a long way. I have one here which I've just popped up, like level 27 with 170 raids with a meta HK, 25 hours by the way in the game. White account, got like I just got headshot instantly after jumping across like a little box type thing. I was like, okay. And then I had like another encounter against duo who just like they just knew where I was like the whole time. Like they even like they ran around the corner, chased me. I stopped, and I don't know whether they would have been able to know whether I'd stopped or whether I'd carried on running, but they knew exactly where I was, exactly which box I'd stopped behind. And they like didn't actually hit me, but shot like 3 shots next to me through the box, and then just sat there and waited and just did nothing. And obviously when I stood up, I got instantly killed. So I was like, I just felt like people just knew. Like there were so many situations where I was like, I can't tell. Like I had like most of the raids were okay. Some of them I just didn't really see many people. But there was like, yeah, there were 2 that were like really like quite, I'm sort of 70%. Because you never know in Tarkov, you can never really be 90% plus unless they're like flying around or whatever. I had a couple of like unfortunate ones. I had a few that were like just a bit weird. So there were probably like 4 weird encounters. 2 of them were like explainable and like I'm probably not cheating, and then 2 of them just felt like really blatant. But it just like it just sort of sours the experience a little bit, and it's like because you never really like you just like I could peek this corner and then just instantly die for no reason, It's like it's just a bit strange, just a bit strange. So whether I'm going to carry on hunting for the other one, like I kind of wanted to do a day of it, just to see. But yeah, I really need to get better at PvP there, to be honest. Because even the fair fights that I had, like I did kill some players, just not that many. Like let's put it this way: out of the 12 raids that I had, I only killed 3 people in total. Which was really quite low compared to like the last time I played labs.
Yeah.
And I survived 3 times, I think. Yeah, I survived 3 out of 12 raids, which is really not very good. And only in one of those raids I actually killed a player. So 2 of the raids I just didn't see anybody. I just got out with like, because I was like, well, all the hotspots are looted. I can't find them. Like I've looted all the hotspots near me. I've grabbed some items and we'll just leave to try and make some of the money back or whatever. So it was like it was quite bad. It was not very good. It was not very good. I mean, the last time when I played on Friday last week, I did kill a 3-man with the MP7, which was quite fun. Oh no, not 3. Sorry, not a 3-man. I killed 3 players, but I think it was like a solo and maybe 2 duos or something. So that was quite good with the MP7. But yeah, I just really struggled yesterday. Like I just had like so many really unfortunate fights. Like one of those ones where you shoot a guy, you reposition, you shoot a guy, you reposition, you shoot a guy, and then you both meet in the stairwell. Like he must be like completely messed up, whatever. I'm like flashlight in his face. He's got no flashlight on, and he just like one shots you, and you're like, oh no, and then like I did one around where you are now on the map, like around the tiny little like medical building where there's like the medical like temporary area next to Dome with. You can get the MCC GPSA in there, and I like ambushed a duo out of there with a P90. Obviously, I had it on single, so like I had to like quite a few like really unfortunate moments, as well as a couple of ones where I feel like I got scammed out of my death, and so it felt quite bad actually in general playing labs this time. And I just think I need to improve my PvP. I just think I'm not very good at PvP on that map. Like I need to reconnect. I need to reconnect how the spawns like work properly. Like I know where I am as soon as I spawn in. But I've not like got it into my complete like brain when I'm spawning in. Like, oh, this guy's going to be here because of that spawn. Like, I know where the spawns are. I just need to think a bit harder, I think. But it's like I think I'm blinded by like rushing the hotspots for these like items, because like if I don't go and do it, then then I'm only gonna be able to check like 2 spots. Because if I end up in a stupid fight with somebody early where I'm like waiting for them to come around and then I hear the audio and da da da,
you're gonna miss your opportunity.
I finally get to go and check the cat table. And I'm like, okay, well, I check the cat table and then I check the office next to it and parking button. And then it's like, okay, well, dark office is now completely looted. Mini med's looted completely. Like weapon testing is already open and looted. It's like the whole rest of the map is just looted. So I don't know, like maybe I'll change my strategy a bit. Maybe I'll focus a bit more on PvP. Maybe I won't bother so much with the items individually. I'll just focus on like playing the map and being like, okay, I'm going to secure my area. I'm going to clear my area. And then I'm going to like, because I can stop if I spawn over by parking or red room or whatever, I can stop somebody from going to loot those bits. Yeah. And if they do loot the item, then I can kill them and they will have it in their bag. So, that's fine. So maybe I just need to focus on those areas and not be like trying to, I need to reach every spawn every time I, play. Because that's genuinely just getting me killed, honestly. Like I got killed so many times, like trying random stuff and like running into somebody who I knew was basically camping and like went for the body and obviously got shot in the head and like stuff like this. Just like I'm just like kind of being greedy with the territory on labs, I think, and like just running around too much, playing it too like Shift W. Because when I was watching you play, this is kind of alluding to what I was saying before. When I watched you play, like you were there till like nearly the end of the raid quite a few times. and just like repositioning and like taking a few shots of people and then like completely moving around the whole map and like coming from a different angle, and all that kind of stuff, which I think is really important because if you don't do those like big flanks, people know exactly where you are because unlike interchange, the audio range in a lot of the areas, you can just hear where people are. And so you can't really flank. Like if somebody's in parking, like it's very hard to actually like get to them. Like they'll hear you coming up the stairs, they'll hear you coming up the stairs in the lobby, they'll hear you coming along the corridor from yellow, and it's just tough. So you have to be like a long way away. Because I was like red dot all session, and I really think I should try to like swap over to a bit more of a like medium range playstyle. Let people run into me, like being a bit more campy because run and gun is fine, but it's it doesn't work as well for me. Partly because of skill, partly just because of like lack of experience on that map, whatever. So I think I need to shift the playstyle a little bit for that, and just be comfortable with only checking, a small subset of the spawns each time, but with a higher percentage chance of actually getting out with whatever that spawn had in it.
Yeah, because I mean, I think that's kind of what I think it ultimately, maybe not ultimately, but one of my takeaways is like if I can clear out my section of the map, then I know it's highly likely I'll be able to check the spawns within this vicinity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which was kind of like the takeaway from that video. I was, at least for me personally, what I took away from it, and I quite like how you can't put the items in your container because it really changed. Like it's odd because it's like it's so clearly deliberate, and it's like this logic doesn't follow any other items in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Except for like helmets, guns, the rigs, but like
the rusted bloody key.
Right. But, well, yeah. I mean, that's another one.
That's another random one.
Yeah. Which like that's kind of an outlier, right? But to my point is like it really changes the incentives. Like for example, one raid I had basically ratted this guy over by button room where you parking garage button, next like opposite side of yellow, and I killed him, and I was like, man, he was like a pistoling. I was like, he probably had something good because he was like sprinting towards the stairs. So I like, once I heard him sprinting, I uncrouch walked and like pushed out and pre-fired and got him. And I was like, he probably had something good. And I saw he had the circuit board that's used in the LEDX craft. I don't know the name of it. I was like, oh, this is like basically a LEDX, but I have to like get out with it. You can't put it in your butt. So I was like, I instantly was like, I'm going to sprint to the extract, which was a crucial mistake because during that session, I think I had spawned somewhere underground and I made my way up to like parking or whatever. And I got shot at underground. This is like one of the things I didn't know the spawn's underground. So like I probably ran past someone's spawn that shot at me. But I ran back towards where I came from, and then the guy was like right there. He was also like crabbing, and he got me. And I was like, "Dang it! I actually should have took parking extra because that was what he opened." But the person that I killed. But it really changes. Like it's kind of like doing some quest on, Tarkov. Like I don't know, Golden Pocket Watch. It's kind of like that. Like it has that same vibe. Like you can't just like it's weird. If I get like I looted a black room once uncontested somehow. I don't know how that happened, but I did, and I found like a LEDX and a bunch of stems. And I had like I specifically brought in an injector case that was empty. So I had like two injector cases, one that has like my normal loadout, and then the other one that's empty just to put stems in from black. Yeah. And I had LEDX in my butt, so it's like okay, I could kind of just like do whatever. And this is a W. I mean, getting out alive with the LEDX would be nice. I could like sell in a flea or whatever, but like, I'm gonna like, I'm gonna, for me, like, I want another thick case. So like, either way, it's kind of like a win, right? I can just use it in a barter if I die or not. But yeah, it really changes the incentives, So I quite like that. Like, I kind of wish there was more of that, but I understand that people don't like it kind of sucks the way they did it. It's like, okay, you want to upgrade the hideout to max? Go labs. It's like,
Yeah, it does a bit. I mean, it's not necessary by any means. Like somebody was asking in my Discord, is it worth getting getting all of this stuff? And I was like, well, they're like, oh, I'm going to hemorrhage money like going there, but like, is it worth it for the items? I'm like, the problem is, at that point, you're kind of deciding between like, do I finish the wipe with 25 mil or like 55 mil?
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, Intel Center, your scav is quicker, quicker cooldown, but more importantly, you get less flea market fee.
Yeah.
So that just implicitly makes you money. And then, the other one, like you don't have to spend fuel anymore and you can get loads of graphics cards in there. But again, that's like a, return on investment payback. That probably happens at the end of the wipe. You're spending money now that you could spend on other stuff that you're then going to have loads of money at the end when you probably don't really care or need it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, is it worth it? Like, probably not really. Like I don't really, like last wipe, I think, maybe I did get them both one wipe, and then last wipe I only got the Intel one, and then this wipe I maybe only going to get the MCC. I'm not really sure. Have you found them yet? Have you because you've not really been looking for them? Okay.
No, I mean they were like side quests, but
yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, you kind of have to be looking for them specifically and play like quite a bit. Like as I said, when I did that original video about it, it took me 50 raids to get both. Mm-hmm. When I did it first, I played labs for because I don't stream that much, so I played labs for literally a month. I played it for 4 weeks straight and did 50 raids, I think, over those 4 weeks. Doesn't sound like that many, but maybe I did some other stuff in between. I don't know. But yeah, it took a long time, and so I'm like 15 raids deep, and I found one of them now, which is about right. But like, the thing is, I'm dying in a lot of these raids. Like, yeah, I'm checking the hotspots, but I'm dying in them anyway. I'm just not seeing those items, which is it's just pretty crazy. But yeah, I need to definitely work on the PMC spawns. Like, it's so important. Like I know that I spawn in all of the places, so it's like I know where they are because I've been in them all. I just need to then like cross-reference that with like when I load in, being able to go and kill people. And one of the issues I find with labs too is that there's kind of two types of players that play there. There's either like decent players who play in duos, and then like unholy chads who play on their own. And it's like actually quite hard to fight a lot of these people. I find like I don't know, especially when you're playing like very gung ho, because fighting against like fighting against two people of sort of similar-ish or maybe like higher skill than myself is like extremely hard. It's like very, very, very difficult to fight against a duo by yourself. So how did you find the actual PvP when you were playing? You were playing solo, right, the whole time?
Yeah. It was a mixed bag. I mean, like I said, outside like the one death where like I peeked and just got it's like they didn't even see the guy and died. I mean, that was kind of unfortunate, but it was kind of really nothing too crazy. Not that I can recall.
I guess that's the difference between like the medium range playstyle versus like the short range. Because in short range, it's very hard to kill two people like point blank. Because you got both of them shooting at you basically.
Yeah.
Like you have to like have the cover like really well sorted, otherwise you just die. Yeah, it's kind of rough. Yeah, I think I just need to do that. I just need to lengthen out my engagements a bit. Use something. Well, what weapons have you been using actually? That's an interesting one.
Yeah. So I was looking through trying to like come up with some like very. That's actually another fun thought process. Is like what kit do I bring? Because you can't insure, right? There's no insurance. If you didn't know that, there is no insurance. So like you don't want to bring stuff that you already insure because it feels like you're wasting it. So I was like, okay, what kits can I buy and purchase that are going to be like most efficient? So I just figured, the face shield from Ragman 4, the shattered mask, it's just level 1 armor. It's 8,000 rubles. It's dirt cheap. I mean, it's probably never going to save me, but I think it has high ricochet chance or ricochet chance, whatever. And like a rig, a class 5 front plate, something like this, right? But maybe class 4, whatever I got lying around. But mainly as far as weapons goes, I've just been trying to find like what's very, low cost, high effective. The AUG obviously fits that bill. I'm, kind of like avoiding using the AUG because I just, I like to use more than one gun. The AKS-74U is like pretty cheap, and I got a ton of like that caliber ammo to like just burn up. There's a build I got. Let's see if I can pull it up. Oh yeah, I just got to type in labs. Yeah, this one, it's like unsuppressed, throw in a red
Of course,
dot.
it's RRD muzzle, any old foregrip, a 60 rounder, butt pad on the which one's that? The PT1,
Mhm.
and then it's the special handguard. Is that the special one? The
XR SU,
yeah,
yeah.
the one that gives you the rear like rail as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's a P90 with the P90 barter. Like, there's actually
I like that one. I use that one quite a bit.
there's actually a lot of builds here that are just like unsuppressed, just because like I'm just mainly trying to kill raiders and then like as a side bonus get some loot, maybe the more value like those hideout items. So like the
Yeah.
unsuppressed P90 barter I think's good. Like you slap on a scope on it. Like a
Because that's really cheap. 2 military
Elcam.
cables. It's like
Yeah.
60k or something, 60, 70k. Like you can't put a suppressor on the long barrel that it
Mhm.
comes with, which is kind of strange. But if you don't care about that, then it's really cheap.
Yeah. MP. I haven't like tried the MP5 or MPX, but like those were ones that I was looking at. They're an SKS. But I don't think I actually killed anyone the times I used it. Because like
I was killed with an SKS actually one time.
I think it's pretty good. I mean, there's a barter for it that's like fine. I think it's all mechanic. Like a lot of these were like barters. Like what's going to be like cheapest ruble? I think it's this one. Yeah, 3 weapon parts, which I think is cheaper than just buying it and then buying the parts individually, because it basically comes with everything you need.
This is the build they tried to nerf, I think. This is why they tried to nerf the SKS. I think it's because of this one, because it has like really low recoil. Like, what's the recoil on the base model without doing
70 right
anything?
there.
That's like really low.
Yeah, I mean you can forego a suppressor. Like I think with a suppressor you get it down to 60. Yeah, and you can forego the suppressor and slap on one of these like AK devices that gets down to 53 if you really want to. Yeah, but you're unsuppressed then. And I figured with like a semi-auto, let's go suppress and put on a 4x, makes more sense to me.
Yeah, it feels like, if you're shooting once or twice, being suppressed has more value than if you're full auto.
Yeah.
Because like
That's
if
my
someone's
thought
going,
process.
like you can kind of work it out. Whereas it's the same with like bolty sometimes. You hear just like the go off one time. And even if it's suppressed, or even if you could hear it, because it was only one shot, sometimes by the time you like try to tune your ear to it, you're like, oh, I've lost it now. I don't know what direction that actually was in. So it does work. SA, did you try that?
Yeah, I tried that. I mean, it felt okay. This one's also a mechanic barter. It's okay. It's a little bit more pricier, but it's the long one. The SA58 PBR. It's 2 Nyx swords, 1 rat poison. You get so what I did is I just kind of like swapped it up a bit. I'm just gonna keep maybe I'll just sell the hybrids because I'm really not using it anymore. But you get a hybrid that you could use for like sniping on a different quest / loadout. But it comes with some decent parts, and I just kind of like was like, okay, I'll just slap in a 20. And then for this one, I actually skipped suppression and I just put on the red brake for like 20k on the flea.
Not even the BMD.
Not even the
I guess
BMD.
it's so gassy.
It's gassy. It's like 40, 50k with everything on there.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to like get low input, maximum return, trying to find that sweet spot. And then one other one that I haven't tried out that's definitely meme territory, but it's just let me cook, okay? Let me cook. All right. The Sega 9 carbine. All right. I'm gonna
Really?
Yeah, I got a ton of the what is the ammo called? PB PMB PB
PvP.
PvP. Yeah, I've been crafting a ton of it. I haven't used it. I keep saying, "Oh, I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna use a vector." Blah blah blah. But I was like, wait a minute. This thing's like fairly accurate, like 2.4 MOA. It's like dirt cheap. What if I do this and get like a 4x on it, and then like become tower? And like learn the calibration where because the further you're out, the higher the bullet goes above the crosshair, and then like I just snipe people with this thing from like afar. It's probably god awful, but let me cook also.
Yeah.
Who let bro cook?
I'm not sure about this.
I haven't tried it yet, but it's something I wonder.
I wonder.
I wonder if the STM is any better. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, I wonder if the Ash 12 is any good. Now that you can buy PS12B.
The
I think
problem.
the answer is probably no, but
The problem with the S12 is, from my kill hunting experience, is no matter what you do to it, it has 0 arm stamina. Well, I guess if
yeah,
you don't do
very
the
heavy.
I guess if you don't do the suppressor and you use 10 rounders, it has better arm stamina. But like it has low ergo and like it just I don't know. I don't like the Ash. Like it just doesn't feel good. It's so heavy. The thing weighs like 8 kilograms. Like it's so I don't know. I don't really like it. But
It
if
is. What's
you
the
like it,
default? The default one is 6K. That's with no ammo, 6 kilograms, and then with the suppressor, it's like 6.6 kilos. Yeah, it's pretty goofy. 100 recoil. You can one tap people with it though.
yeah, you can.
I might try it like a DMR. I don't know.
You could
On labs,
try
like
it.
the medium distance on labs is not like too bad. It's like because it's only 288 muzzle velocity, right? It's like really slow. The bullets are super slow, which makes it kind of awkward. But if you're not firing like too far, like on labs, how far are you legitimately firing? Like 60 meters? It can't be that far, right?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, honestly,
I'm
the
gonna get.
the
I'm gonna go.
like out to 100, even a little bit more, it still goes. It's just very delayed. It's very slow, but it still fires on point for me in my experience.
Yeah, I mean, it should. It should do. Let's go and have a look. Ash 12. So it's calibrated for PS12, which is fine because I think PS12 is 285 meters per second, and PS12B is 300. So they're all subsonic, which helps because it's calibrated for subsonic round.
Right.
The fact that PS12B is subsonic doesn't matter because the speed is similar. So it's this comes back to this usual thing of the zeroing is set for one specific round, and if the PS12B bullet is like very similar, then yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna like wander around a few places and just see. So if you're like down in the med corridor, you're fighting someone at the other end. That's like that's only like 50 meters
Yeah.
because labs is just it's not that far, right? And
No.
at that point, 300 meters per second doesn't really matter because that's what like a sixth of a second or something to go from you to them. So that's not too bad. Like 80 meters. That's like down past like the black room, like main corridor. If like I'm out in the open area over by like the mini medical room, and I'm like, actually, let's just look one side of the main area to the next. Go and see one stairwell to the other. And over here to the far corner. Yeah, again, it's like 70 meters all the way to the end of there. It's like 85. Like it's not that bad. Like 100 meters is basically as far as you're firing on
Yeah,
labs.
probably.
So I think so maybe it's okay. And if you use it like a DMR, just put it on single. You've always got the fun switch if you really need it. And then like you probably I don't know like what do you do? Do you stick yourself with a Mildonin at the start of the raid? Do you like
I mean, you
use it like
could.
SJ6 is kind of a bit short, I think.
I think Meldone's probably a good idea. I mean, they're usually like only 40K, which I mean isn't cheap by any means, but out of the
Yeah,
stems that are popular, it's reasonably. I mean, it's reasonably priced for what you get too, because it's like 900 seconds of like bonus strength and endurance. Is it 10 or is it 20 for each? I actually have it here.
10 strength, 20 endurance, but it's you get that half a tick of stamina recovery rate,
Yeah.
which affects arms
Yeah.
as well, which is why it's important. Because like 3 BTG gives you +1, but it's only 240 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
This is the issue. Guess you could use. Do you get it from something else? Technically, oh, it's only 25% chance. Yeah, don't use Abdul +1. It's not a good idea. So yeah, maybe Muldoon is a good one as well because then you've got slightly more arm stamina. You're not fighting that far, but then you've got the beauty of the fact that PS12B deals 102 damage, so you hit them like it is just one tapping thoraxes, like left, right, and center. But the problem with it is that the recoil sucks, and you don't want to be fighting in CQB with it really because you'll lose to somebody who two shots thorax is the issue. Like I've been there in that situation as well, and it's a bad time, right? Because one tapping somebody's thorax on the unarmored bit just doesn't make up for the low rate of fire and the high recoil in this patch, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel that sentiment as well.
So I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to set an alarm to buy some PS12. Maybe I'll try it next stream. Buy a load of PS12 ammo, buy some Ash 12s because you actually have to really set up and prepare for these things. The ammo is scarce. Like I can't just go on the stream and be like, right, today we're gonna use the Ash 12. Okay, where's the? Oh, it's out of stock.
Yep. Anything else for labs?
Not for now. I think that's it for the minute. I just need to get good. Honestly, at the minute I am not good and I'm bad, and I need to look at the spawns more and think about it a bit more, and maybe watch some videos. I probably should watch the videos. I think that's useful because watching other people play is really helpful because they go to areas that they're comfortable in that you're not comfortable in. You know?
Yeah.
Like I tend to find myself most comfortable around parking button and maybe the dark offices. I hate the keycard areas. Underground, I'm not too bad, but I don't tend to fight people down underground that much, but I quite like underground. And some of the middle areas, there's like the bit over by the kitchen that I don't mind. I quite like that area, and the bit by cat room and stuff. Like I still die there all the time, and that's probably my favorite section by red and parking. Like those little bits. But yeah, some of the other bits, like all the keycard room areas, they just scare the hell out of me. Server room, like both floors with the keycard rooms, they're just terrifying. Honestly, like every time I go there, it's just like I just get murdered. Get murdered by Chads every time.
I guess one other thing to mention about labs that was pretty, very helpful. Just previously the only place I was really comfortable was the underground bit by the medical elevator. That was kind of it, because that was what we would do. We would go down there. It's like, okay, how do we get underground? Okay, how do we path these tunnels to get to the place? Okay, we're here. Hit the two buttons, the one in like underground server and then the one in like the cage area, which is like G and O. I don't remember which one's which. And fight raiders and then extract and leave. That's all we did. But now that I know, I don't know all of them, but I know like Sector G, I hear that on the announcement, because that's the one interesting thing is like to take the extracts, pretty much all of them, you have to like hit a switch to activate it. And when you do that, it will play a message over. It's like a lady saying Sector. Oh, it's like Sector G. And you know that, oh, okay, that means that someone's here. They hit this button, and now this extract is open. Then you got to go up to the elevator. You hit the button. It calls the elevator. Boom, you go. And that was like really helpful because like I hear that. It's like, oh, I know someone's there now, So it's like that can account for like a player on the map. And that's like, oh, now I know this extract's available because that extract will always be open now. You just got to go call the elevator. And that was pretty helpful. Like I need to learn the rest because there's like Sector R, but she says R in like a very different way. Like it's like almost like at the back of the
like Sector like or something like that.
Yeah, Sector or yeah.
I literally have it up on a sec because I can never remember. I literally have the list up on my other monitor on the side. Yeah. So it's like cargo elevator G, hangar gate B, main elevator R, medical block elevator O, and parking gate Sector Y. And I always forget, so I always just have it there. I should just learn it so that I don't have to have it up because there's not that many.
It's not that
many.
And
I'm always just like, wait, which one is that? And what I need to do is I need to make a little mnemonic for myself. That's the way that I always remember. So I need to to associate something with it. So like, what about Y is like parking? And the thing I find about this is like this is like a funny memory trick. This is completely unrelated to Tarkov. It's like if you need to remember like random stuff, often you can remember it just by like this association thing. Like it depends on how your brain works, but I do find that this trick works for me. But you have to think about it a bit. So like be like Sector Y and think like, what about like Y looks like a car or parking or something, and like make some association. Like it doesn't even matter how stupid it is, but that's the thing that you remember it by. And then like medical elevator, like O, Sector O looks like what, like an artery or something. So that's medical. So that's got to be like, that's the medical elevator. Like main elevator is an R, but an R, or hangar gates B. Like as long as you can link back each one, then you'll remember which is which. Like no matter how stupid it is. Sometimes the more stupid it is, the better it is. Actually,
I'm coming up with stupid ideas in my head right now, and I think it's working.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good way of doing it. I actually used that to learn. I don't need to do it that much anymore, but like I used it to learn the names of the presets and what was in them for the arena tourney.
Oh my gosh!
When I was doing the hosting, because like I was literally just confronted with a spreadsheet of like 60 presets that I've literally never seen before, never played the game. And I'm just like, how am I going to remember all this stuff? So I like wrote them all out, and I was like, okay, this is this one, this is this one. At least just like the main gun and stuff. And and kind of did it that way because I was like, I'm never going to remember this otherwise because I can't like learn by experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to have to like learn it some other way. So that does work well for me at least. It's a nice little trick. Also for people's names. If somebody introduces themselves and says like, "Oh, hi, I'm whoever," if you can like think up something quickly in that association, then it stops you from instantly forgetting it. Because I'm like an instant name forgetter. Like they say
Same,
their
yeah.
name, but I'm not really listening.
Yeah.
So it's just like it flows over me and then it's gone. If you can set up the association right then you can retain somebody's name from the first meeting, which is quite useful. But you then have to remember to do it, which I also forget to do. So anyway, that aside,
I wanted to jump to a completely like just skip around a bit just because it fits in nicely. Comtact 4 is OP. I've been hearing this sentiments a lot, and I have some thoughts. So I actually used it recently, and on interchange actually, and oh my god, it was just like kind of like crazy because I've been pretty much using tech sports like 95% of the time, 90%. Sometimes I'll use the rack twos and like some of these helmets that can go in just because like I got the helmet for like Quest Reward and it's like I don't really want to just vendor it. So I'll just slap some rack twos in and use it. And they feel about the same as tech sports, but the hype the Comtact 4s, man, it's like the extra distance and like the clarity you can hear stuff is just really crazy. Like it doesn't sound, I'm using the wrong verbiage here to describe poor choice of words. It doesn't feel like when you look at the numbers, it doesn't seem like it's that much of a difference, but like in practice, it's actually kind of crazy how different it is because it's like you get that extra 5 or 10 so meters of like hearing distance, and it's like, wow, I can actually like set up on this person or like reposition, and it's like it's kind of insane. And when you think about it, it's like it gives you an upper hand and the most like okay, this is kind of the conundrum, right? It's like, okay, they're very expensive, 200K right now on the market, and it's like, is that really worth then like a tax sport that's going for like 40, 50, or like Comtact or whatever your headsets that you get, it's like standard price, right? Is this worth like 5x the investment, or I could just spend that on armor? But like when you think about it, it's like, what are you really getting on the Contacts? You're not getting protection, but you're getting like information, which is like like I would say arguably way more valuable. But you kind of see it however you want. But I just feel like that information advantage is way, like I was thinking about this, like, man, I might just be, it might just be worth going into labs of like the cheapest class 4 armor and these headsets, and that's it. Like a gun, right? Like that's it. Like even like regular raids too, it's like it's kind of crazy how, like, in my limited experience, especially on interchange, because I play a fair amount of interchange, this wipe a bit and then mostly previous wipes, so I kind of have like this already sound map built in my mind of like where I should hear people. But I was like at the donuts near Emercom and the what's that clothing store for the Quest on Goshen side, not Avocado on the opposite side.
Is it Trend or
the one where we did that
one of the other
testing
ones?
at with the armor on interchange in your videos? That little donut
Oh,
section.
yeah, that one.
I was like
Yeah.
there ish, but like moving towards one of the center of them all, and I could hear people all the way in. Like I heard like a scav in like by the idea coming up like the escalators. Like I heard him like voice line and like shoot at someone. Like I heard the voice line and then I heard him shoot at someone. I was like, dude, that's insane. Like, because he came up from the underground bit of the escalators and voice line. And like normally
crazy.
I wouldn't hear them till like they're going down the hallway to come towards like it was just crazy, dude. It was like so insane. Like the stuff I was hearing where like in my experience I normally feel like I never would hear that. Maybe this is all just placebo, but I swear it's like it was a huge like mind opening experience. What's been your experience? Have you used them at all?
I have used them, yeah. I've used them a bit. I don't use them all the time. Even though I probably should. I think it depends on how you're playing. I think interchange is the perfect map for them for the reasons we were talking about before. in that the features of the map are quite stretched out and elongated, and it's deceptive. And Stratigies is deceptive in how long range the fights are most of the time. If you can, like, obviously they're not that useful on like factory. And like, would I use them on labs? I don't know. Like, it depends on how I'm going to play it, I think. And I think this is part of the problem. Depends on how you're going to play it. If you're playing long sight lines and you're playing at 50 to 70 meters, then yeah, they're super valuable. And the reason why they're so good, so I've used them a little bit, and I also do think that they're insane. Because yes, you get that. I've got the spreadsheet up. So the difference between the Comtact 4s and the rack headset, which is technically the second best headset for range, if you are unencumbered, so you're not overweight, you're underweight, and you're running, you can be heard with the Comtact 4s at 77 meters, and the rack you can be heard at 67.5. So it's a 10-meter advantage over the second best headset, which is mind blowing. And if you're walking, it's 71 versus 63, so it's an 8-meter advantage, which is kind of insane. And I think the thing is that because a lot of people are wearing, like, yeah, as you say, like Tac Sports or XLs or Razors or whatever. Like, some people are wearing lower headsets than that. It's like, why do people not really wear the rack that much? Well, it's because people don't really like the way the EQ sounds. The EQ on the rack is like kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much ambient compression there is on the RAC. I don't actually really know. But people don't really like them. And when I tried them first, people were like, oh, this headset's goated. And I'm just like, it feels like absolute ass. Like, I can't even work out where people are. This is terrible. The thing about the Comtact 4s is that they've got like the perfect storm of everything that you would want from a headset.
Yeah.
The longest range and the compression of the ambient is extreme. It's really extreme. So you hardly can hear that ambient noise at all. So they're really, really good outside in wide areas where you're not suddenly going to get jumped on. Because you'll hear somebody 10 meters beforehand. And even if you make like, a stud min speed walk noise, actually, to be fair, that they wouldn't hear that anyway. But even if you make like a walking noise or whatever, it's right at the edge of their detection range. So they might not even hear it anyway. Whereas you'll hear them because the ambient is so low, they're coming. And then, as you say, you can set up on them. And with armor, the way it is this wipe, it's, you're going to probably die if you don't get the first shot off. And especially if you don't know where they are and they're like already aimed at you, right? Normally you're dead. Unless you're me and you're playing on customs, you die to a level 20 Timmy by getting HP through the eye socket after using a full 50-round drum of Vector,
oh no,
PvP. But anyway, that's another story. But no, I think they're actually really, really good. I do think they're good. And as to what you were saying before about the armor thing, like, I do almost feel like the information is valuable. Like, I think rather than being, it's a 50k to 200k spend, you have to consider it in context of like your whole kit. So it's like, well, my kit's going from, I don't know, 400 to 550, but you're getting a huge power boost for doing so. I don't know. I really think, like, if I'm not playing labs, I used it on streets a lot. Let's put it that way. And I thought they were really good.
Yeah, streets, I could totally see that. Yeah.
They were really, really good on streets. So, I mean, they're super powerful. Like, yeah, they're expensive, but they give you a massive advantage, especially if you use them in the right way. Like, as I said, on factory, it's not going to do much, right? Because you can hear everybody on that map really the whole time anyway.
Yeah.
And the fights are close range, so you're not going to set up. Everyone knows where everyone else is. But yeah, on like wider maps where you can set up and rat people, like they're the perfect ratting headset, let's be honest. Because you hear them before they hear you, and then you can crouch, walk into position while they're wandering around completely oblivious and none the wiser. And then you wait until they're in like the most exposed position, and then you open fire. And there's nothing they can do.
The Solos headset.
They're godly. They are godly. So I should probably use them more. I really should.
Yeah. And on that note, like, is it OP is like the question that was proposed at the start. And this is kind of the conundrum for me, is like, in like a vacuum, kind of, I feel like yes, but then in the context of Tarkov, it's like, well, they're on the flea. It's not like you can buy them from the trader. Like, I think you can only get them from like weapon cases and the goons spawn with them. Like, I don't know any other sources that you can really get these from. And like I said, it's on the flea, and like, the price is there. Like, you got to pay the price. Is that OP? I don't know. Like, I dare say like it's balanced because there's a cost to it and it's accessible at 15. If you,
Yeah.
I mean, either you pay the price or you
Yes and
don't.
no. I think it's less about like I feel like it's less about necessarily whether something is OP or not, and more about whether it's like good for the game or not. I think that's a more sensible conversation
Yeah.
because you can always argue that things are like not OP because they're on the flea, but the flea price is also like there's two sides to every market, right? There's supply and there's demand.
Mm-hmm.
And in Tarkov, like the players' demand sets like only one side of the equation. And so the other side of the equation is really in BSG's control, right? Like
True.
if these only spawned on the goons, they'd be like 3 million each.
Yeah.
Whereas if because they spawned in boxes, then they're cheaper than that. And if they spawned in more boxes, then the price would be even lower. And so I feel like the price is like it's not like the price is not artificial. The price is like is real based upon the supply, but the supply is artificially set. So it's not like players can just like, oh, I'm going to go and like make more. Like it's not there's a complete like there's no like elasticity in the supply, right? So it's always the same unless BSG changes something. And it reminds me a little bit like the pricing argument. And yeah, it's balanced within like what players are willing to spend. But it almost reminds me a little bit of when you could get flares on the flea, and you basically had to have one to play woods at one point. This is like years ago now, but the flares were like 90k at one point in
I
time.
remember that.
And I ran them a lot because you just couldn't play outside of shoreline, woods. Like there's like so many places you just couldn't play without one. And it was like, was that good for the game? Not really. And now, they've been restricted or whatever, and now they're more expensive and you can still choose to, but people tend not to. And they do towards the end game, but most of the time people don't. So I feel like it's hard talking about like balance purely by price and purely on the flea because of this. Like the price is sort of set by BSG like implicitly.
Right.
They don't know where they set the initial conditions. They're like the experimenter, right? They set the initial conditions.
Yeah.
They don't know what the price is going to come out at, but the market mechanism will produce a price, and from there they can go, oh, okay. So that's like you. They could never have predicted that 200k would be the agreed upon price by players. It just so happens to be the perfect equilibrium of what people are willing to buy it at versus how much it spawns versus how many people put up on the flea market, right? And so like they can then decide to restrict the drop if they want to push the price up and stuff. But it's like, do we think this is a good idea in general? I've always been against different ranges of hearing. I think it's stupid. I still think it's stupid. I don't really like it as a feature, and I've said before I've made the absurd argument of leveling up your sight, and your draw distance is only 500 or whatever as a starter player, and it's 1,000 if you're, level 50 BMC with like max skills. And it's like, oh, the new player just can't see you. Just like, well, get good. You just got to play more, whatever. Like, obviously, you can buy this, so it's a bit different. It's not quite the same kind of thing. Because I think in the past we were talking about perception skill because that was the one that leveled and that you hear further as you play the game. And it's like, well, you just have to play more and then you can hear me, get wrecked. So this one, at least you can buy it, but I still think it's a weird mechanic. It's sort of you almost get to a point where you feel like everybody feels compelled to buy them. Like everyone has to have them, otherwise you're just like going to lose. Like
the thermals argument on woods.
A bit, yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. It's exactly the same, actually, yeah. It's like, oh, well, you start with your PMC as like tunnel vision, so you've got to buy eyes every raid. Okay, well, everyone just has to buy eyes. All right, like it's just, I feel like there's not, you end up with no choice. Like maybe people, it's a bit more nuanced than that, but you try,
I think that is a better argument. Is like, is this actually good for the game versus is this OP? I don't think is this OP quite contextualizes what we're actually trying to discuss here. And to add to this, formula of like BSG being experimenters, there's also an inherent game price that's assigned to them. Like when you go to sell to the traders, and that price is tied to the tax also. And if the price of the headset exceeds a point to where, you're eating a bigger cost on the tax, like there's a threshold where like the item can only sell so low. Like it's not going to sell. It's going to sell basically at the price. The lowest it can go is the price it's going to sell to the trader.
Yeah.
Most people.
Which I'm just having a look now. Like Ragman it's literally only like 50k.
Oh wow, that's actually pretty low. Do you have one found in raid?
No.
Okay. Dang, I wish I had. I had one found in raid not too long ago, and I think I ended up using it. Yeah, I was gonna see what the tax was. But yeah, like I imagine for 200k. I mean, we could pull up the wiki thing, but I ain't got time for that to see. But yeah, you get my point. Like if this goes up probably the upper limit is going to be like 500k I would imagine the tax is going to start creeping up there, maybe more. But anyways, there's an upper limit too and a lower limit, so they would have to also like tweak that value as well if they felt like it needed to be more. Oh, someone says taxes 11.4K at 200K on the flea market. Thank you, examinations in Giga's chat.
So not that high.
Not that. So it's got more. It's got room to go. What is it at 500K? Now I have to know. So yeah, that's it is. And one other thing, going back to perception, I would assume as your skills increase, because it's a percentage, that it scales better with bigger number, aka the contacts having higher range. So like 5% on contacts, that's whatever, 50 meters or whatever, versus 71 that is the Comtact 4s. Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, I know perception's always been really weird as to how it works. Like the percentage doesn't seem to relate to anything, and like who knows how it's actually calculated. So I don't know really. But yeah, you might be right. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I wonder what happens if you have like contact force and you have like 3 BTG and you have max perception. I wonder what the actual range like could be in theory. What the theoretical max is. You could hit people like 120 meters or something.
That'd be cool. Yeah, maybe a Giga Science video you could commit to long term.
Yeah, I've got to get to like max perception then, which is just like not even going to happen. Mine is 14 right now, so theory distance increased by 4%. Nice.
Speaking of science, that's your cue.
Speaking of science, been doing some science. Definitely been doing some science for sure. So I went slightly mad, I think, in general. I've got like a bunch of random topics. This is why they're all like bundled under one. So I'll kind of just like whip through them quickly. I was having a look at, there was a conversation in my Discord with people talking about the VSK, which is that new gun, which is like the cheap version of the VSS.
Oh yeah.
About like the fire rate, because it feels and sounds really weird when you fire it in the hideout. It doesn't sound like it's supposed to be 900 like the VSS is, but it doesn't sound like it when you fire it, which is really strange. So I went to test it and like went fully down the rabbit hole. I did like 2 full sprays of like 20 round mags. I like had it in Premiere. I did like all slowed down. I then like cut it all up and like measured it. Like every time the camera like showed, you could see a bullet casing and the camera like bumps back like this on the gun. I like made 1, 2, 3, like I had it like slowed down 10 times, or like 0.1 speed, whatever. And yeah, it is exactly the same between the two. I think there's something weird about the way that the VSK sounds, because it sounds like a UMP or something. It's like got a much more like beefy, like low noise to it than the VSS. The VSS sounds more like an SMG, because like, whereas the VSK is much more like when it shoots. And then I think there's something like psychological about the sound of it that makes it sound like it's shooting slower than it is, which is kind of, it's kind of weird. Like I went through this whole thing of like getting really confused about what looked like not like a discrepancy, but just like an inconsistency in like when the shots shoot. Like it was quite like, I don't know, it was like one would fire, you'd like, it wasn't very even. Let's put it that way. That's the best way to say it. So when I looked at the editor afterwards, the periodicity between each bullet shot was like not very even. And I did it very accurately based on what I could see on screen. And I was like, musing about it in Discord and stuff. I was talking to Ida about it, and we were saying like maybe it's something to do with like when it shoots, like on each frame or whatever. And so like I kind of like delved into a bit more, and I was like, oh, actually, hang on a sec, because it's 900 RPM, and my recording is in 60 FPS. Like 900 RPM is 15 shots per second. But I get 60 frames per second on my recording. Right. So every 4th frame, I should see a shot. But when I slow this down to like a 10th speed, it expands out by 10 or whatever. I'm artificially, like each frame is becoming 10 frames. And so I think what I'm seeing there is, if a shot happens on like technically within the game, it would be frame 3.99, or no, so let's say frame 4.01, in the game terms. Well, on my recording, I have frame 4 and frame 5, right? So I still see frame 4. The bullet hasn't fired yet. By the time I record frame 5, I'm actually like off a bit. And when I extend it out, like when I slow it down by 10x, I'm like amplifying that out quite a lot. So I think literally all I was seeing was like the discrepancy between like the sort of the error between like, you know, whether it's fired like on one frame or the next frame, and whether the periodicity is like just perfect, or whether I've like missed it and I have to wait till the next frame to see it. Because by the time I've like blown it out, it looks like a lot more weird than it was. So anyway, all that to say, VSK and VSS, same fire rate, everything seems fine, like nothing to worry about. I thought I was going to find something like game breaking, something like super crazy, but it's not the case. Like, yeah, I even like went through. I was just like, okay, well, like how long did the whole thing take, and like, is the fire rate actually 900 RPM? And like, you know, within error, it's like 870 or 880 on my clip or whatever. So like, okay, well, that's fine. It could be, you know, could be whatever. Then I've been looking at lasers and flashlights. This is the next one. So I'm building a video right now. This is what I was doing just before this podcast. It's going to be coming out tomorrow. I'm not finished yet because I've been like, each time I look into stuff, I like want to look into more stuff. I think this is like part of the issue. Like I hate it when I'm like due to release something, and then I'm like, oh, I kind of want to add this, but then I need to look into it more, and then it's going to take more time, and then I like, okay, fine, I won't add it. It's not that important. And people in the comments are like, but what about this? And I'm like, oh, I hate it. It's like annoying. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to put more detail into that video, but it's quite interesting seeing some of these things, because I don't know if anybody's really like gone through and like delved into it for a long time. Like there was the big landmark video where he was, you know, testing all the flashlights, but he's just like puts them on and like shines them. And him and Logical Solutions are like shining them at each other and stuff like that. But it's not very consumable. It was quite funny, even in the comments on that video, because this is from ages ago. This is from, gosh, when did they do the rework? Like maybe a year ago or something now, of all the flashlights. And someone in the comments was just like, you know, but which one's actually the best? Like, you know, how do we, you know, where's the comparison? And someone was like, I guess we're just gonna have to wait for the GigaBeef video. This is like 10 months ago. I was like, we made it, boys, we made it. People are like literally waiting for the video. Like people keep asking me to make it.
Yeah.
So like I'm getting onto it. But the most interesting part of all of it is the way that point fire is working now. Because I guess this will release, actually, for anybody who's not live, this will release after the video anyway. But like BSG changed stuff so that point fire didn't work for flashlights and like IRs and IR flashlights, that kind of thing, because people were using those to, you know, be invisible or whatever, but still get point fire bonus. Well, basically now it seems that like no matter what you do, so long as the tactical device is on in any fashion, you get the point fire bonus. It seems to have reverted to the way it used to be.
Oh, really?
So long as you're not using, they did decrease. Maybe it changed again. I've actually lost track of what happened with point fire.
Sure.
But I thought that like the IR searchlight, I'm pretty sure at one point they made the IR searchlight and the flashlight point fire bonus worse.
Okay.
Than the laser point fire bonus. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But anyway, so the way it works now, and one of the worst things about it, right, is that point fire is like not necessarily bad in and of itself. Oh my god, Church has built like, for audio listeners, Church has built a crazy gun with like 6 Clash 2Us on it or something. Are those 2Us or no? They're 2Ds.
2Ds, yeah.
God, what was I even saying? That's distracted me so much. I can't remember what I was talking about. I was saying about about the point fire thing. So there are 3 flashlights that are actually flashlights in the game, which is the Army Tech XP35, I think, XHP35 Predator, the 2D, which is the one that Church is using at the moment, which I think is quite new, the Zenit 2D, and the Ultrafire one as well. And those ones need like a separate mount to mount it onto the gun. And none of those give you a point fire bonus. But it does seem that any of the others, all the tactical devices, they all give you a point fire bonus so long as it's on in some fashion, including the flashlight and including the IR searchlight. I remember what I was saying. I was saying about why point fire is terrible. So the reason why point fire is terrible, and I've seen like there's a couple of videos, like Tayoff did a video about point fire being bad. And he was like comparing, he was like shoots against the wall and then shoots against the wall in ADS and then shoots against the wall like with the laser without being in ADS. The issue with doing that is that you can do point fire like 3 times, exactly the same, and the spray pattern that you get is like totally different. And it's not necessarily about point fire being bad that's the problem. It's point fire being like so inconsistent that's the problem. That's the issue. Now, I was trying to cook something up on stream. Oh, don't you hate that so much? Church has literally done the thing in the hideout where you run right to the end and then you move too far to the left and it puts your gun away. There needs to be more points around the hideout, like shooting range, that allow you to take your gun back out, not just at like the bench. So yeah, I was cooking something up on stream, which so listen, like hear me out here. So if you have a tactical device of some description, any of them that are not like the actual flashlights don't give you a bonus. If you've got any of the other ones, you'll get a bonus as long as it's on. But you don't always want to have your flashlight or laser on. Now it all depends on whether you want to have like which modes you want. Whether you want a laser, whether you want the flashlight, like what exactly you want to do. Now the other flashlight that's like really powerful is the WMX 200. There are 4 flashlights that are like directed beam, and so they penetrate through the fog. Interestingly, so if you're at one side of dorms and they're at the other side of dorms, with all the other flashlights, you won't see them. But with 4 of the flashlights, interestingly enough, 3 of them are the actual flashlight ones, the ones that I was just talking about a minute ago, the 2D, the Ultratech, and the Predator. Those 3 all like project into the darkness, as does the WMX. But the WMX attaches directly to the gun and is a tactical device technically. So it also gives you the point fire bonus. So it feels like almost the best of both worlds. It's also got another interesting feature, which is that it has an IR searchlight as well as being a flashlight. And that's why it's a tactical device and not a flashlight in the game's designation. Now, if you, rather than turning it off, if you just swap to the IR searchlight instead, you still keep the bonus with the light being off. And in the daytime, no one's going to run MVGs, so no one will see it, which is actually really quite cool. So an extension to this would be whether you want to have a laser and a flashlight or nothing. And I came up with this like strategy basically where you attach the WMX, you turn it on, and then you add the NC Star blue laser on as well with it off. Now, if the like by default, let's say the WMX flashlight is on and the blue laser is off. Okay. You can either change mode, which will change over to the IR searchlight with the laser still off, so you're not showing up anything, but you still have the point fire bonus. And then what you do is you press the on button, and this turns off the WMX, but it turns on the blue laser. So you still have the point fire bonus. And in this way, you can either have no laser, no flashlight with point fire, flashlight with point fire, or laser with point fire from 2 devices, which is kind of cool.
That is cool
if you're following that. And I was like trying to think of other ways to do it, but it's just like the other devices are kind of weird because they've either got like too many modes, so it's hard to click through them. If you want a different colored laser, it's like annoying because there's no other lasers, I don't think, that only like a laser, and there's no other modes. Like all the others, because of the way that BSG have got, or the way the simplistic way that we've got like flashlights and lasers set in the game, you can't just like be like, oh, I only want to change the mode of this one when I press the button, but not this one. So if you use like the X400 or whatever, you're going to swap between like on, off, blah, 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 blah. The mall canted. Actually, yeah, have you used the mall much?
No.
I don't know what the modes are on the mall. I don't know if that one is that one actually a, let me check it up actually, because I think that does a few other things though, doesn't it? Isn't it like integrated and visible aim lasers and an infrared illuminator? It's still got multiple, problem is it's still got multiple like modes on it, because you'll swap between like infrared, visible, and infrared illuminator. The beauty about the NC Style Blue is that it's always just the blue laser no matter what you do. And so you can switch with that combined with the WMX, you can basically swap between IR on and off versus the flashlight on and off, or the laser on and off by pressing the on-off button. So you basically use the on-off button to turn the laser on and off, and you use the change mode button to turn the flashlight on and off. But even when both are off, you've still got the IR searchlight on, so you still get the point fire bonus. That's the long and the short of it. It's quite hard to explain.
Yeah.
This is why I script things out and then put them in a proper video because like it's probably taken me like 15 minutes to explain something that's going to take 30 seconds to explain in the video.
Yeah.
But it's quite cool. I was
cool.
like figuring out how this works. And I had a chat with chat about it yesterday and people were like, well, it's bug. And I'm like, yeah, it probably is. But like, this is how it's working for now. So, this is how you could do it. Because like you can argue very strongly that if you don't have MVGs on, you shouldn't get a point fire bonus from a IR laser or an IR searchlight.
Sure, but
I think that's a very sensible thing to say.
Yeah, but that's like saying getting a point fire bonus at all is a bug. It's
Maybe.
like, in other words, like I get what they're saying, but to say it's a bug is like really reaching. I feel like it's like saying having max strength is a bug.
I think saying that it's I think if you were to say it was game breaking, I think that would be a big reach. I think like the fact that you could say like it's a bug, I think that's probably valid.
I don't know. It's bug to me. It just means something different than oversight's probably like I feel like oversight's much better wording.
An oversight, maybe. Yeah, it's like slightly
like
less.
This is probably how it should be because the game's going for realism. But at the end of the day, it's still a game. It's like saying putting, fixing your limbs with a CMS is a bug. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, this is just the way they coded it. It's like, I get.
Your audio's cutting out a bit. I don't know why.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it looks fine on my end.
Okay, it seems okay now. Okay, keep going. I'll let you know if it's broken.
Maybe it was. We're using Discord, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it was. I'll lower the.
Seems okay now.
The threshold a bit. I mean, I get what they're saying. It's just I'm being the petty one here, most likely.
Oh, maybe it's when you're in game. I think it might be when you're actually in game.
Oh, it might be like PC meltdown.
Maybe something's 100%ing. I think.
Yeah, I'll exit out. Anyways,
the classic. But yeah, so like I think it's probably an oversight. I don't think it's necessarily intended, but you can do it this way. I was using the WMX on labs because you can just have the flashlight off and you can get the point fire bonus from the IR searchlight. So I was just doing that because without it, right? If you don't have anything on, the point fire is just terrible.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's just so inconsistent, and you just like sometimes you just don't hit them at all, even though you're aiming center of the screen at them. I don't know whether that's necessarily a good or a bad thing, but it's like, it's a very different thing to how it used to be. But if you use one of these methods and you get one of the point fire bonuses, you basically get like the point fire that we used to have.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that was kind of interesting. And then like the final piece of science that I've been thinking about is this audio pop-in bug, which is just like notorious. And like a few more people are talking about it. I've been talking about it for a bit. I've been talking to like OmniActual about it. And like Geeks just made a post about it because he's like come back to Tarkov and he's like finally put on binaural and he's like, oh god, this thing is like actually crazy. And the weird thing about it is that like this probably is game breaking, but you don't know that you got killed by it.
Yes.
When it happens to somebody else, and I think this is probably the reason why people aren't complaining as much as they could be about this thing, simply because like you only know when it happened when it was in your favor.
Exactly. And
it really like changes the dynamic of like people's, not necessarily their willingness to report it. Like they're not like withholding information on purpose, but it's just, you just don't really remember because you're just like, oh, I've, benefited from the pop-in bug. But I do think that it doesn't help with the ongoing thing of like, ESP and whatever, because like people know where you are where they really shouldn't.
Yeah.
And it looks like people have ESP. It's like, how did the guy know I was there? Oh, well, he had the pop-in bug. Well, how was you ever supposed to know? Like, you just know where you can never tell. And so it leads to more sus encounters. Like, who knows? Maybe sometimes those things happen on some of the labs raids that I had, because I had it against someone else too. So it's like, it's crazy. But the thing about the audio pop-in bug, and so let me just recap for people. I'm sure everybody knows what this is at this point, but if you don't, then the audio pop-in bug, it only happens when you're on binaural, and it's a huge advantage to playing with binaural. It seems like if somebody comes into your audio sphere, like where audio is supposed to play, and they make a sound as they enter that audio sphere that is occluded slightly, it seems to be the difference. you get the audio. It's like half a step or whatever noise they're making. It happens with grenades and stuff too. It can happen with like lots of things, but steps are more obvious. You get like half a step of audio at full volume, and then it goes away and plays the way it should do. But that half a step is like highly directional, and you can tell exactly where they are from it. And on that basis, most of the time you just have to wait because they're normally coming towards you, because that's the way it works, right? They have to come into your like audio sphere, so they're naturally coming towards you almost by definition. And then you just wait, and then oh, there they are, bam! And there's loads of clips of like it happening to streamers, to various content creators. But it's really tricky, and like Omni looked at it quite a bit in his like spate of testing videos about audio, and he couldn't like he kind of found out the causes for it, which is this occluded audio, blah blah blah. But he couldn't replicate it exactly. Like he couldn't always get it to happen. He could and you hear it quite often in raids, right? It's like something that happens all the time. But to actually systematically reproduce this thing is quite hard. And I'm kind of tempted to try, because it's like one of the most annoying things. And I don't think, unless we can replicate it properly, I don't think BSG are going to be able to fix it. I just don't think they're going to, or they're not going to fix it, one or the other. And so I'm like, feel very incentivized to like maybe actually have a look at it with like a bunch of people, going to because it happens to co-op offline, so it's the same audio engine. Get like 14 people, get them all to like run at me the same, or one at a time, go to different areas, like see if we can figure it out, see if we can make it happen consistently in such a way that it can then be debugged. Because I do think it's really bad. It's one of the worst bugs in the game right now. It feels like people have ESP when it happens to them. It only happens to people on binaural, and it shouldn't happen. It really shouldn't happen. And it's awful. It's as I said, I think it's one of the worst bugs at the moment. But because it only benefits you when it happens, it doesn't feel as impactful in a sort of. It doesn't feel as bad. There's that feeling that's associated with these things. When an invisible player kills you, that's like instant rage mode, right? Whereas when you have audio pop in and you kill someone, and they're none the wiser, it's like, yeah, that sucks for them. It's like it's very different. It's just a very different feeling. So yeah, so someone in chat saying it's been reported for years, but BSJ has said they can't replicate it. Exactly. So, we're gonna have to do the work, right? We're gonna have to do the thing. We know how to do this stuff. We could do it. We have the technology.
One suggestion
if we want it fixed, we're gonna have to do it ourselves.
One suggestion I would have, if you do go through this, is make sure you don't spawn together, because I wonder if when you spawn together, like one working theory, just me hitting the crack pipe real quick and come up with a theory, is like if your bubbles have already intersected, then you can't reproduce it, possibly. So I
think that might be true, yeah.
Like, I wonder if like what's happening is like once the bubbles intersect, then the game engine's like, okay, now does its logic. You should be able to hear this person, and then like there's some spaghetti code, and then it's like playing at full volume until like the other portion loads the data it needs to, and then it's like, oh, you're far away, so you can't hear this person, but because your layers have intersected, or your contacts have this distance, whatever, you get my point. But yeah, you'd have to like pick a big map, you run to like the center, and then have each person like pop SJ Tremadol, and then sprint to you until you hear them. You have to find like a point that's like you're like in a little box. You need like a sound box, a little room you could get inside of.
Yeah, because you could just do it roughly to start with, and then figure it out from there. Yeah, it sounds very likely, right? You can imagine it's like you spawn in with other people, and it's like the game goes, okay, we're doing the audio check, whatever. It's like, they're far away, so we won't load that bit in. Like, it's some small optimization. But then when somebody comes towards you, it's just like, okay, we're initializing audio on this player for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And in that processing moment of like, okay, what audio should we're playing this audio, and then it applies a filter. Maybe just the ordering is incorrect or something. Who knows? Like, it could be a billion different things.
Of course, yeah.
And it's like, so it starts, plays the sound, and it goes, oh, actually, it should have this on it, and then it has the exponential decay for distance or whatever, and that like comes afterwards because of some like incorrect logic somewhere. So I think you're quite right. I think if you spawn together, I don't think you'll ever get it. I think that's. Like, people don't seem to get it from their own teammates. Like, I've never heard anybody saying they've had it from their own teammate. You typically hear it from like enemies and from AI scavs.
Yeah.
So you're encountering these people for the very first time. So I think that's very likely. I mean, that would be the way to start, as you say. Pick somewhere that's not like. I'd probably pick. I don't know. You'd probably pick like reserve or something, because it's like quite small, like stand in K, and then just get people to run at you, something like that. Because it doesn't need to be huge. Like, Somebody made a good point in chat as well. Like back to the Comtact 4 thing, you probably get a pop from further away, so maybe actually OP.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, because I know I watch a lot of Sheaf, and I mean he swears by the Contact 4s. He uses them all the time, and he always talks about he calls it the audio bubble or the audio pop. You know, it's like, oh, someone just entered my bubble. It's like I know there's someone going. Kind of crazy.
Yeah. No, it's mad, right? It's mad, but I kind of want to do it. I feel at this point. Somebody just needs to like just go and do the thing, and focus on that one thing. Because like it kind of came up as in the conversation that Omni was having about like, you know, in his video, he's like, you know, we're talking about the footstep pop as well, about like binaural versus not binaural is like one of the features of. But I feel like it just needs somebody to hone in. Like I may not even be making any content about it, you know, or maybe I would, but I probably would actually, I guess, because there's no reason not to. But I just kind of want to do it anyway. Like even if I wasn't going to make content about it, I probably would just do it anyway. Because at this point, I feel like we know enough information. People have like got to a certain point where it's like, okay, I'm not just shooting in the dark here. Like I've got an idea of like what to test, and then let's just try it. I mean, even just try it on an open field. I know he said it was like occlusion, but it seems to happen like through hills and stuff as well. But I don't know whether that wouldn't be part of an occlusion there, like a hill. So I'm not sure. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll do some like basic testing next time on stream. Maybe that's what I'll do on Monday. Maybe we'll just like test the footstep bug on Monday with like a bunch of people in chat, because you can get like 15 people into offline raids these days. So yeah, we'll see.
Could be fun nonetheless, even if it's just like an hour or two. Could be fun just to see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. People always love a bit of that anyway, running around just messing about in offline. So that's the science. So yeah, I've been doing all sorts of random stuff, testing lots of things. It's quite fun. I like having something to be like mulling over and musing about. So it's always entertaining. We shall see.
Just quickly, I wanted to mention this extraction shooter game called Level Zero Extraction. I saw this on, I think I saw it from Veritas. He posted a video about it. There's been a couple like sponsorships or whatever. I think it's currently in closed beta, and then there's or close alpha or something. But then there's a closed beta that I think you can sign up for if you wishlist the game on Steam coming in March.
Right.
And it's an extraction shooter, PvP, PvE, but the twist is it's like in space station and there's aliens and you get to play as the aliens, and it's kind of like a horror. It's got a horror element to it, which I like and equally dislike as well. Like horror movies, I have no problem with. Like, you know, I overcome that long time ago. You know, I can watch a horror movie and I quite like them. Horror games, however, are just a different experience. Like, dude, I was playing Shoreline last night looking for the goons, and I was like, oh, I'll go hit Resort just to like see if there's a Linux or something. And I ran into a cultist. He was like right there. He like appeared out of thin air, and I hate it because they're silent. And this is like a different type of horror, right? Because like in horror films, like they use a mix of audio and video, right? So like sometimes like in horror films, they'll have like this shot where it's just like you're staring at like a very dark hallway and you can't really see anything, and then you see like a little tiny movement and then a loud noise and you're like, oh shit, you know. It's like, whereas like in this Tarkov experience, it's like you can't hear them at all and they're just silent, so suddenly they just appear. So it's like a different horror experience, and you're like interacting with it, so it's like it's terrifying. And yeah, I hate it. It's actually terrifying. So yeah, but back to Extraction Level Zero. This game is actually, it's kind of got me intrigued because it's I like that. I kind of want to try it out and see how it plays with like the horror, and you get to play as aliens and you get to like stalk people. But the interesting part is how you fight players is with weapons, obviously, and you gotta loot and extract, of course, you know, and buy stuff. It's like kind of all the same beasts that we know of. But with the aliens, you have to use light. There's a huge light emphasis on here, and they have like EMPs, right. And like you like fight them with like your flashlights, and they like burn and incinerate. Like it looks pretty cool. Like I watched Veritas play it. I think I saw someone else playing it a bit, like one of their videos. I think it's got like a cool little twist on the familiar extraction mode.
So what's like the structure of the game that allows you to play the aliens? How does that even work?
I don't know. I don't know if it's like scav, you know, like this is like effectively scav.
Oh, see.
But it's like, yeah, I don't know. But I all I know is I want to try it because it just it's so cool because you get to play. It's like kind of like playing scav, but not really. This is more like playing as like a scav boss. You know what I mean? Because you're like a legitimate threat against these people. You know, like
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just not to say that a player scav isn't a legitimate threat, but it's just like but you're like a different entity. You know, you're not shooting a gun. You're like this creature that has like these abilities, can claw. You can set up traps. Like you can take out the lights because they gotta like flip on light switches, but you can like do like a radial EMP. So like now their flashlights don't work. Now they gotta pull out the flares, and like you can't. You know, it's just everything. It just looks very intriguing. You know, it's the publisher's Tiny Build, which I'm familiar with, but I'm not familiar with the studio, which is Doghouse Games. But yeah, it looks like it could be some solid fun.
Is it Unreal? It looks like Unreal.
It
Is it
probably
Unreal
is, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have to check. Someone said Left 4 Dead 2 with loot extraction. Does actually look like Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
It's like got that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
There's like a Alien versus Predator game like a long time ago as well. I'm just intrigued. Level 0. Yeah, what is PvP VPVE? Why have they described it like that?
Don't ask me.
Oh, there's an article from Unreal Engine about level 0. So I guess it must be. Well, maybe. I don't know. Does it say? It looks so much like Unreal.
Yeah, it does.
You could just kind of tell. I don't know. There's something about the Unreal lighting. It's just like. Yeah, I can't find it, but I think it must be. It must be. Anyway, I have to go and like watch Veritas's video about it. I haven't actually watched it yet, so see what he says. But I like the fact that there's more of these interesting things. I feel like we've had like the first wave of people trying out like extraction shooter stuff, and now people are kind of playing with it. You know, like we've seen the first wave. Okay, you can't just replicate like some other game modes and just like do it easily. You have to do something interesting and sort of novel. And now people are figuring out like how exactly to do that, and doing something cool like this. We're just watching somebody getting eaten by by aliens on Twitch's screen, which is pretty good. Yeah, it does look cool. Anything where you can play as the bad guys is usually quite interesting.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Talking about other games just before we like go over to the last topic. I have actually. Have you played Helldivers yet? Like,
no.
Everybody's been like raving about it online.
So many memes, and I just love the memes.
It's literally just like everywhere, and the CEO is like quite talkative on Twitter. He's been like posting stuff, being like, "Yo, we're like trying to stabilize stuff and like figure things out, and get everything to work, and we're increasing the CCU to like 700k for the weekend and all this kind of stuff." It's pretty crazy. But yeah, I played it a little bit. I played it with some friends because I wasn't going to ever like play it super seriously. So I was put the word out to my friends, just like, look, if we're going to play, if a couple of people are around, then maybe we'll play it. But it's good because I like it because you can just kind of like, the way I was describing it yesterday to, I think again to chat, the way I was describing it yesterday was that like I would like quite easily like have a blast with my mates and like have a beer playing Helldivers. But I would never play Tarkov and drink at the same time, like at this stage.
Yeah,
like not ever.
yeah.
There's just like it's just no way. Whereas like Helldivers is just like fun. It's arcadey enough not to like stress too much. I don't know, like is it a 1,000-hour game? Like, I don't know. But like I've seen quite a few people play it up to 100 hours, 100, something like that. And it's a very different game, but it reminds me a little bit of, the last thing that like me and my friends were playing was that Warhammer game.
Yeah.
Dark Tide, which was, that's like decent. And Dark Tide was good. So, and it kind of feels like that. It's like, it's all PvE. So you're like working with with your people, doing your thing and like completing missions. But I think the fact that they've managed to get the universe to be like so cohesive, like, yeah, it's comedy in a lot of ways, and like kind of stupid. It's like a farcical take on, a lot of this stuff, just like hoorah, gung ho. Like it's very like Starship Troopers, sort of American conquest style of like, whatever, like just fully lean into it. And it is funny, but like the actual way that they built out the world is great. Like there's lots of little details that make it awesome. And it makes you like, you really feel like you're, involved in the game. Like you're really immersed in the game world. Like it's immersive despite being like quite like casual and just sort of chill in that respect. So like on the ship, when like even just things about like the mission selector, right? That you like have a universe map and you like it's all really like polished. So you're a universe map and you zoom into a sector and you pick a planet and then you're like your ship like jumps to the planet and then you're like looking over the planet and the missions are like on the sphere of the planet. So you're like moving the planet around. Okay, do I want to play day, night? You know, that a day mission, night mission, that kind of thing. And then your ship, like when you pick a mission, your ship like moves over the planet. You can see out the window, like moving over to the thing. And there's other ships in the background as if you're part of this like huge war. And it's that kind of like makes it really immersive and really, really fun. So you feel like you're actually part of something much bigger. And the way that it's the feel of it, the feel of the game is great. That's why people like it so much. Like I couldn't really understand at first before I played it, like why people liked it. And I think it's that. And then there's like, you know, scaling difficulty. There's lots of different difficulty levels and you go up power as you buy different bits of gear and blah blah blah. But like, yeah, I was just having a look at Darktide because I played Darktide like 70 hours, something like that. So like, definitely got my money's worth out of that. So if I play this for 70 hours, 100 hours, something like that, then you know, again, it'll still be worth it. It's probably on the more expensive end. It's like £40 or £35 here in the UK. So it's on the more expensive end, but it is really polished and it is a good time. So I've been enjoying that. It's good fun actually. It's good fun just to have a blast. Not take it too serious.
I'm glad you got to play with your pals, because but some of my friends, Tarkov friends, was trying to get me to play. I was like, dude, I'm just like too Tarkov brains right now to like. I just want to get this thing done, and then then I'm like free because I'm right now I'm in shackles to the Kappa container.
Yeah, exactly. This is the issue. I like feel free to play like some of these other things, and it's like, you know, I don't feel like, oh, I need to get on and like grind the Tarkov. I think like Kappa, like, yeah, Kappa does things to a guy. You know, it really does. Like I've seen it before. Like don't let it ruin you. It's just it can be bad. It can be bad because you feel this like you feel compelled to get there, right?
Yeah.
And finish it so that you're free, so you could do other stuff. It's like, yeah, it's kind of bad. Don't be afraid to take a break. You know,
I literally put the chains on myself every day. I log in, put on my shackles. All right, I know the drill. No, but
welcome back, Church. It's time for your daily whipping.
I gotta show you this meme, dude. I'll read it out for audio listeners. So there's this like, when you're loading, I guess it plays like tips, and one of the tips reads, "If an enemy ever attempts to engage in diplomacy, shoot them. We mustn't believe their lies." Which I love. There's so much of this like freedom, democracy, like puns. It's so good.
It is ridiculous. Like you'll finish a mission and you'll like it plays like the most crazy. I would say the soundtrack is actually also part of why it's so good, because it's like it's almost like filmatic. Like in the actual like raid or whatever, because it's almost it's an extraction game kind of
yeah.
Because you pick a point, you load, you choose a point to start, and then you go and do your missions, and then you have to extract out of it. But it doesn't feel like an extract shooter because there's no looting. You're like, it's a mission based extract shooter, I guess. It doesn't feel like doesn't feel like Tarkov or like Cycle or anything like that, because you're not like, you know, you can die in the raid and you don't lose anything. So that's why it feels like more casual, right? Yeah, there's like lots of opportunities to respawn your teammates and blah blah. Like there's just like so many stupid things about it. Like if somebody dies, you can call in a reinforcement, call them back into the fight or whatever, and you can literally have your voice line set to like randomized, so that when you come, like each time you're coming back as a different person. It's just like, you know, you're basically expendable, like entirely expendable. But the music is insane. It feels like, it sounds a lot like Star Wars, like a lot of the Star Wars stuff. It sounds like John Williams, honestly, which is like really, really awesome. And yeah, when you finish like a mission or whatever, it'll be like, you know, the most insane like outro, like, you know, the end of the movie kind of like music plays. You get back into the ship, and then like all of you stand there, you know, like the final pose with all the people, you know, before the stat screen comes up, and you do like, you know, your victory thing, because you can like pick a victory, whatever they're called, like victory taunt or whatever at the end of the mission, and then like little fireworks go off, and it's just like, oh my god, like it's too much in a amazing way. Like it's just so, you're just like, oh my god, this is so stupid. But it's like, yeah, it's so good. Like the music actually in the game is awesome. Like I'm a big fan of the like all the Star Wars music and stuff, and it actually sounds a lot like that. Like the game reminds me of, it's like how would I even, like it's like I don't even know. It's sort of like the Mandalorian combined with Star Wars combined with Team America.
Yeah.
Combined with Starship Troopers, obviously. It's like it's like that. It's like it's just, yeah, it's just jokes. But Some of it's actually quite hard. Like I've only playing not like you can have 4 people in a group, and that's how you're supposed to play. I've actually only played it as a 3 and mostly as a duo. And I'm hoping to get some more people on, but I've only played it mostly as 2, and it's like some of the missions are quite hard, like even quite early on because you don't have like the best gear, and you do have to figure out how to kill the different types of enemies. So like it's interesting as well. It's not just like a brain dead like run and gun. So there's like bases to kill. You have these like you could bring down like orbital strikes and stuff. Some of them are better at blowing up like the bases of the enemies. It's almost like you're a little soldier in an RTS almost in some ways because there's like automaton bases all over the place. Because I've been fighting the robots mainly, and they're like producing more of these like whatever. So you have to go and like blow up the bases. There's like secondary objectives. It's good. It's good. So hopefully I get to play some more squad stuff soon. But it's yeah, I like it.
Sorry, I've just now scrolling through my likes and laughing at different memes. Sorry. And yeah, but I will say the mechanics. I watched like a early. The person preferences like this isn't an actual review. It's more like a very positive first impressions. But like the actual mechanics that they implement, like it's like we're raving about like sort of like the world and the lore and like the setting and like the comedic mix. But like the actual gameplay too looks really good. Like I like how just to mention one brief aspect of like the gameplay. It's like third person and first person shooter, like a mix when you like ADS, but like when you move your reticle around, it has like weight to it, so like it lags behind a bit and like it scales based off the different weapons. Like SMGs, the lag is very light, whereas like a LMG, the lag is like very heavy, so you kind of have to like if you're gonna like you know because you're gotta like fight hordes of bugs or robots or whatever. So if you like change target to target, you gotta like kind of compensate for that lag and like it looks like they did a very. I'm glad that the studio is having issues of players logging into the servers. Like they deserve. They did a really good job. Kudos to them.
It's a bit like your idea of like the floating aim point thing. Like, yeah, you can move your aim as fast as you like, but your character takes a while to follow up. It's actually exactly like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I found it kind of annoying in some ways. I don't think it should be as extreme in the third person in first person.
Oh, it's
the game
in
is third person
as
game.
well. Oh, I didn't realize it was in first.
Yeah, which is really annoying for like the sniper rifle. But like the rest of the time, it's kind of okay. Like first person mode is fine, but sometimes it's just like kind of hard to hit stuff. Like it's weird playing in third person. I never play third person games normally, but this game actually kind of works anyway. I hate third person usually.
I usually don't like it either.
I think it's because it's not PvP that it's okay. You're never playing against another player, so you never feel like you're being cheesed by somebody looking over a wall or like all the dumb stuff that comes with third person. So I feel like that is probably okay. But yeah, like there's some things about it that like the sniper rifle, as far as I can see, because I've been using the anti-material rifle a little bit, and it's like it doesn't shoot straight. It shoots like up and to the left a little bit, and I've seen some other people talking on Reddit about it, and maybe it's an FOV thing or something. It's like back to old classic Tarkov like long range stuff. Most of the time, you're not using things at long range. So usually, it's fine. But yeah, like that was kind of a bit annoying. So yeah, some of the mechanics, it's a bit different, but it feels like it's been done really well, like straight off the bat. Like it's very polished, I would say. Like other than just not being able to get in because it's so popular. Like I've not really encountered any bugs. Like the menus are all really nice. Like, everything just works. The mission select feels good. Like the game looks really, really good as well. Like all the explosions look great. Like the way some of the effects have worked. Like you pop a grenade into like the enemy base building thing and it explodes, but it explodes like so much that the whole screen, like if you're too close, this whole screen just goes like white and the whole thing just like shifts around. You're like, oh, am I actually going to be alive when I come out of this? And you're just like, okay, no, I am. It's like the effects are great. It feels like you really have like weight behind the things you do, which is cool. But yeah, it's good. It's good. It's good.
Do we get time to discuss anything else, or should we wrap it up for next week?
Yeah, maybe we'll wrap it up and talk about it next week. I mean, I've been just to touch on it super lightly. I mean, I've been like looking at a few things to do post 42. I was talking about it with chat, like some testing stuff. Obviously, that's fine. Like labs was kind of the first thing because it's easy enough to go and get the MCC, GPSA. It's like something a bit different. I want to do stuff that's a bit different. Like hardcore is also maybe on the list as well. Like people really liked it when I did hardcore last time. So yeah, I'm just mulling over what to do. There's like lots of like really kooky ideas, like playing like co-op offline, like hide and seek and stuff like that are like possible. We talked a bit about this before with people doing defend the lighthouse or the zombie mode in dorms and all that kind of stuff. So I'm still deciding what to do, but I feel like hardcore could be interesting this way because it's probably like a bit easier than it used to be.
Or
you can still take down the chads,
You do the co-op hardcore that you were describing that
Oh,
one
well,
time.
the crazy one. There's no way. I just don't think I can systematically make it work. I was like, I have thought about it a lot, but it's like, it just takes way too much.
Yeah.
It almost becomes like a tabletop game. Like you've got to like write down stuff after every raid and like keep track of it all. It's just insane. I just really wish there was like a proper hardcore mode that we could have, but like hardcore exclusive. But yeah, I'm still figuring out what to do. I mean, maybe I'll play Labs again. I think for the time being, because I haven't played Labs until last Friday. So, and people enjoy watching Labs because they either don't go themselves or they like to watch someone else do it because it's stressful and annoying because you just die like 70% of raids. I still need the GPSA, so yeah, I might go do that first, and then I don't know, maybe I'll dabble with hardcore, but might do some other fun stuff too. I'm not sure. So still figuring things out, but yeah, there's lots of different potential ideas out there for random off the wall stuff that could be entertaining at least. Even just like meme strategies. I want to like try some stupid stuff like go to dorms or like go spawn somewhere, go to like the hotspot and like drop helmets with flashlights on them or whatever, and like just do some like Abney dude stuff, that kind of thing. It'd be kind of entertaining. Fun. Just like off the wall random things. See people getting confused with like a wall of flashlights on helmets or whatever. Like I remember I killed this guy really early on. We couldn't take all his stuff on Shoreline, and I stripped his body, and chat was like, "Oh, you should like do something funny," because he was like right next to the extract. He was over by like past the Shoreline. And so he's like going to be found. And so I sprinkled all of his like non-valuable items around him in like this big circle. And there was just like, it looked like one of the cult circles. I was like, man, can you imagine like when someone finds this guy, he's just got like all his items around. He's like dead with all the items around him. It's like make your own like cult circle thing. It'd be quite fun to like do that and then like just scope it out and watch. Although I wouldn't have the patience to sit there and wait. But yeah, there's so much like random stuff you can do. That's mainly what I'm thinking about. But yeah, other than that, as I said, I feel more free this wipe than ever, and you're shackled down, sadly. So
yeah, it's mainly lagoons, and I kind of hate how that system works. Like finding them just feels like a. How did you find them when you did it? Just by chance?
Lagoons didn't exist when I did Kappa.
Oh, lucky you! No,
because I did it 8 years ago.
Oh, I thought you did Kappa recently.
Not recently, only Lightkeeper.
Okay.
I haven't done Kappa since 2020.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah.
Which, as I said, it coincides with the birth of my first child. So, got Kappa, then my daughter was born, and then I never got Kappa again. Which tells you something.
Yeah.
So, like, if you kill the goons, what else you got to do?
Wilder's wallet, maybe some other obscure item that I forgot, and then the guide. I'm kind of like the guide just feels really boring. I just don't really want to do it. Just out of like pure boredom. I mean, it's like
at least it's easy.
Yeah, it's just it's boring. It could be a very long time sink. Like because you gotta wait 7 minutes if you don't kill a scav or something, and it's like the more time I invested, because it's a lot of loading into raids. If I'm down to like the last map I need and I die to some random unforeseen consequences happenstance thing, it's like I gotta do that whole 1 hour process all over again. It's just like doesn't really, and it's not really challenging. It's just time consuming. It's the issue. Which is kind of the name of the game with a lot of these quests, but at least you're interacting more interestingly when you get to fight the bosses. But
yeah, I think that's the thing that kills it for me. It's the time consuming thing. It's just like, I will do this if I just do it enough times. It's like, I have the big red button and I just have to press it 1,000 times and there's a 1% spawn chance.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't feel, it's like, okay, yeah, if you have to fight something or go do something, then it's like, okay, I can think about different ways of doing it. But when you're just like fighting against RNG, it's annoying.
Yeah, that's the killer was like that. I got it Monday, first raid, he didn't spawn, reset, second raid, threw some flashes, heard a voice line I didn't recognize, checked it, indeed was Killa, went out to him, thank God, he had the helmet, got out. It's like, just think, because I probably played like 30 or 50 interchange raids throughout the course. I was just like so relieved to get that done.
Yeah, that one's big.
Yeah.
Killer is huge, actually.
I actually only saw him once dead, and that was it. Every other time, like he would spawn, I couldn't find him. Like I don't know where, someone might have got him, and I couldn't find the body. because you gotta check a lot of places, you gotta run a lot, and there's only so many flashes you can bring. And the flashes, like, he may not always yell, is one thing I heard. He will yell, but he may not always yell, so you may have just gotten unlucky. It's just, it sucks.
Yeah, and you'll die as well a lot, right? Like running around too much.
So other people are also throwing flashes and looking for Killa. Like, you can tell, you can tell when Killa's on the map. If you hear flashes going off, you know Killa's on the map. You don't need the little, you could have missed the little thing not showing up, the lag switch or whatever. You don't talk about.
No, it's crazy. Yes. But at least with the goons, at least you just have to kill them.
Yeah, but it's just
there's no item.
Bird Eye I'm worried about. I just hate the silent walking stuff. It's just, that one's actually terrifying. So
yeah, you kind of get lucky and he like runs past you. It's basically how I've seen most people kill him.
Yeah.
See like various clips, people fight him, they kill one, kill the other, and then Bird Eye just like runs from one position to another, but in front of your sight line, like stupidly, and then you just get to gut him down.
The other part that's crazy is like he'll run, you know, silently, but then he'll voice line loudly. Like what?
Yeah.
Just I really wish they would just give, like, the cultists, I can understand. Okay.
Yeah, they should give Bird Eye footsteps.
Okay. I digress. Anyways, concluding today's episode.
I wish you luck.
Thank you.
Hopefully by next week you'll be one Willer's wallet away.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Yeah. We shall see.
Oh, not that far though. Not that far.
I might I'm kind of digressing a bit. I want to get long line done. That will give me booze because I just ticked over 50 because I did like a weekly and a daily.
You have to do booze?
No, and I don't have to do long line, but I like interchange when I'm not hunting Killa, and it, just to have the quest unlocks done plus the rewards you get.
Yeah.
It's like, why not? And it's something to, like, when I do like 5 or 6 goon raids, it's like, okay, I need to do something that's like actually stimulating the brain besides popping SJ. Yeah, like, just I need something else. So that's my something else.
Good. Okay. Yeah. Well, we will see then.
We'll see.
We will see.
As always, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you all next week.
Bye-bye.